Welcome to the only show that breaks down, cracks up, skews, and reviews each week's DC Comics. I'm the mutated Element X monster, Eric Shea.
And I'm Jim Warner.
And this is the Weird Science DC Comics Podcast, episode number 445.
445. I think I'm as much a monster as just Jim Warner than anything else. At least that's what my family tells me, Eric. So
and most of
we're
society.
Here. Yeah, most of it. Most of society does. It's very sad.
The other half won't
life
talk
I
to you.
lead. That is true. We're going to find out just how sad my life is later in the mail section, thanks to Luis
You're doing a
writing
DC
in.
Comics podcast and you're an old man. Obviously, your life's pretty sad.
That is pretty sad, and I get that thrown in my face every time I get in any sort of fight with my kids. I mean, they really do.
That's just
Go
good
read
fodder
your
right there.
comics, Daddy. I'm like, all right, I will. I'll go there and ignore you just like I usually do. So take that. That's how I get them back, Eric. I ignore them just like I always
you're an
do.
absentee father.
No, I prove my point of being, a big man,
It's
right?
like, I was
I'm
always
a big
there.
man.
Yeah, Dad, you were there, but were you really there?
Was I really there? I'm like, I don't know, but I can tell you maybe what happened in Nightwing 95. You want that, kiddies? I did actually. It comes
I like
in
the
handy
idea
at
that
points
maybe.
where Ethan ends up always trying to get involved, but he always gets involved in the wrong way. Well, he sends me a message the other day. Hey, Dad, what's up with this She-Hulk being a GD lawyer? I'm like, it's part of
Why
the
does he have to
comics.
say
It was part of the
goddamn
deal.
lawyer?
I know that's. I don't know why you had to say. I said the GD. Maybe it was great darn. I don't know, but I don't know. He gets all
If
upset.
that's what you put, then your kid's an idiot.
What Ethan does is he ends up getting riled up, but he's not riled up. He thinks that he's riled up in a way that I'm going to appreciate somehow, but always thinks I'm a hater.
Hey, Dad,
I
you
don't
hate
know why.
ladies. Tell me, why is this going on?
Being in the comic stuff, like at one point he's like, yeah, just watch that Captain Marvel movie. Pretty bullshit, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was okay. And then he gets thrown off. But yeah, I guess he thought that everybody was yelling about the She-Hulk, so he had to. And I said, no, I haven't seen it yet, but that is part of, the continuity of her at some point. So, go with it and see what you think. And he seems like he's already written it off because of the GD lawyer, he said. But hey, we're here to talk DC Comics, not Ethan.
Just tell him not to worry. She's not a prosecutor. He doesn't have to worry like in real life.
Exactly. Yeah, he's on the run. But here we are. We have a plethora of books. That means 6 in my world and Eric's as well.
No.
And they are some bangers in title, right? Maybe they won't be. Maybe they will be. We'll see how we think. And when we get to them, we are a spoilerific podcast. So just remember that because we're going to spoil the shit out of everything, Eric, including my outlook on life is what I think we're going to really spoil by the end. Maybe my pants as well. That's more soiled than spoiled, but it kind of rhymes. But with all of that,
Kinda.
Hey, everybody, go over to, what rhymes with blue? Blue. When you go over to the Twitters, make sure that you go and follow us at Weird Science DC. And if you do, we'll follow you right on back. Go to our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. And you follow us there, we'll follow you back too. I don't know what that means, but go and read all of those reviews that we put out each and every week from DC Comics, and then go to our Patreon. Patreon.com/Weird Science, where you can help us out for everything we do here on the regular feed, including our TGIF podcast, Eric, that we did last night. That's Thank God
it's Friday.
And we ended up doing a Dark Crisis tie-in special, Dark Crisis Young Justice number 3, and The Flash number 785, both tying into the Dark Crisis event. And we liked them, differing, varying deals there. We weren't as hateful as some. I saw a lot of people hate that Young Justice. We actually thought that this was a bit stronger, issue than it has been. I hope that maybe things turn around when we're revealed that Mxyzptlk Jr. is behind it all. That may make some sense, but I'm still kind of worried about it. In The Flash, we liked because we really ended up liking the big baby idea of having Knives Mahoney come into the regular DC universe and maybe be a villain for the kids, including
in a world
Maxine.
where there's no Night Flash, but just wholesome Flash family antics.
Wholesome, yeah. So, yeah, we liked enough of that. We were trying to be a bit positive. Not trying to be, but we did like some of those. So, if you want to go and listen to that, and plus, during the midweek show, I ended up talking about the first appearance of the Riddler. Not quite as dark as what Tom King was pulling, because in that, another thing that we do on the Patreon is our Patreon Spotlight episode, Badasses, the Get Fresh crew. They pick 2 books, and me and Eric go through those, and they pick the Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler, number 1. It's with these long titles. These titles, like they're taller than me. DC versus Vampires All Out War
Actually,
number 2
comics
as
would be.
well. That's true. I'm telling you, Nightwing might be taller than me. 1 hour and 40 minutes, that episode was. It was a banger, as some have told me. Eric did not mind his language, is what Andrew and Belfast said. But those 2 books picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. And what we do here on the regular show is do a little bit of what we call the badass roll call. Eric, hey there, baby. What do you say? I'm talking comics almost every day. I'm like the math teacher there, trying to get all the kids with me, Eric. Here are the badasses. Now you made me laugh. Jeffrey Green, Stephen Bat-Dad Mitchell, The Annihilator, Ted Probst, I Love Punchline, and I'm here to say we also got Stork and Michael S. Forrest Pauly, Cam, Matt Razor, D-Man 3000, Lady Abby, and Lord Andy. You don't realize you have to pay a little extra to get me to rap your name in. Red, Matches Balone, Niels T. Ward, David Fink, Joey Baracasco, Stephen Bauman. You got Jason C. And that's Sue 42 to you and me. Michael G. Well, that's actually my backdoor plan to be rich. You got Michael G. Ken Howe, Atomic Boom, Rocky, Cellar Dweller, Mark Jager, Aldrin Stoja, Nick Adams, Ruben, Carlos, No Wolf Marv, Luke Hollywood, Simon. I'm losing my voice already. Luis, Manship. I don't know why either. Andrew and Belfast, Swanee, Anthony G, Josh Vermillion, my man Pete from NYC, and we got Batman Beyond Mark and Rob Lewis and B. Murin and Double A Ron from Minnesota. There you go. What a roll call. Hey, everybody. This is, what show is this? 445. We're almost there. Eric, we've almost learned how to do this. Having some fun talking comics. Eric's all upset. He's a man that needs organization and no chaos. So with all of that, though, we're going to get to the books. We have a bunch of books. We have a bunch of Batman-centric books. Bat family in the house, family. Eric. As I say in the house, I don't know if I mean the mansion, the cave, the micro caves, the brownstone. I don't know.
Look,
Mr. Brownstone,
me and the rest
Axl
of the
Rose.
listeners are not your kids. You don't have to try to make us cringe and get embarrassed for you this entire episode.
I think that's my play here. I ended up watching, and I saw a very quick explanation of comedy duos. Like me and you, Eric, a comedy duo, right? And it basically says to have a good comedy duo, one guy has to act like a real asshole, and then the other guy has to get mad about it. I'm like, I guess me and Eric have done it. I mean, really, you're an asshole, Eric, is what I'm saying. But
sure.
With all of that, we're going to go off. I wonder what song we'll play to begin all this. I don't know, Eric. I'm going to pick now. It is dealer's choice, but here we go.
Dick Grayson had a problem with KGBs, and Nightwing fans felt like they had been fleeced. They got Rick Grayson and subscriptions decreased. The future was kinda shitty. Tom Taylor showed up, made everyone glad. Gave Dick $1 billion and he's rooming with Babs. He saved a three-legged dog from boys who were bad. The sky was the limit. Now it's the great Dick Grayson fan service through and through. Here is the great Dick Grayson, so much better than me and you.
Ah, yes, Dick Grayson, Eric. He's in 2 books in this first section here, and I just wanted you to giggle when it said the boys who were bad. That's why I put it in there. That's all. I need to get you a little happy here, as I am, Eric, since I've drank about 80 cups of coffee and may have had maybe a little too much Adderall. I don't know. Who am I to judge, Eric? Who am I to judge? But with this, we will be judging some books tonight, and we have a lot of Batman books. We have a lot of Bat-centric, Bat family books, as
You
I
could say
said.
all.
And yeah, and that's the weird play is when you end up having people complain about it, we always say you can't really get back at them by saying, well, no, that's not the truth, because it is the truth. The DC has a ton of them, but not a lot is selling at the moment. So you need that sort of thing, but not even all of these books that are even in the Bat family line are selling or are bangers, but we'll see. We'll see
Or
how
are
it
they?
is. Well, maybe they're bangers and mash. I don't know, Eric. Maybe it's
Like even
Kiss
the
My
stuff that we
Grits,
did
right?
over on the Spotlight and Patreon and stuff like that and TGIF, we still had, All Out War, which
That
I
is
still
true.
consider, even though it's DC versus vampires, that's the Batman family versus vampires. Get the hell out of here. So, and then when we have, what was the other one we did?
The Riddler.
Exactly. Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler. I'm like, right there. Like, we have taken some books off it, but half of them are still Bat books.
That is true. That is true, Eric. But here we are. And
you know what? Fuck it. Young Justices as well, because Robin Tim Drake's there too.
yeah, so there's always going to be that connection.
And
It is
Batman's
like,
front and center of that cliffhanger.
I love it. It's like the half a degree of Batman. It's that new game. You don't really have to play. It's just,
Not a
how
lot
is
of
this
separation.
book? How's this book connected to the wider Batman family?
A
Because
page.
it is. Yeah, it's just like it doesn't take much to get there. But in all of these, before we go into it, remember you can go and read reviews for most of these on our website, weirdsciencedccomics.com. All of the links that I go through will be in the show notes, even if they are in our campsite bio, Linktree deal. Just click on everything and maybe you'll get your identity stolen. I don't know. But eventually you'll find our
Say that.
podcasts and websites as well, Eric. I mean, isn't that what you want to get? Isn't that the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? I think it is. But we're going to have a book that we're going to start with, and it's Batman Superman's World's Finest, number 6. And number 6, that's a Kiss My Grits, number 6, Eric. But in this, it's written by Mark Waid with art by Travis Moore, Tamara Bonvillain. I don't know about you, Eric, but she blocked and reported us
That was a
and
good reason.
did a bit of car doing the art. So you end up having this book that is pretty much the darling right now of the DC fans. And I think it's something that they ended up grabbing onto because there wasn't a lot to grab onto. Plus, the art was great. You had Dan Mora art. This is Travis Moore art, still pretty good. But with that, this issue is not great. And I saw some people with the
Dick Grayson
reviews.
back in time in the circus when a circus was first a thing in South America is not a good time to you?
No, and what I think in this is this should have had maybe a
Dick
issue
Grayson,
or more to bring.
1892.
It just, you end up where by the end, I have to admit that at one point I was a big Encyclopedia Brown fan. And I'm dumb. I can't figure shit out. So I would cheat too. I'd look. And that's the funny thing. That's how bad I am, Eric. I would cheat by looking ahead when I'm not telling anybody about it. It's just me. But I'd still look and think I'm, pretty fancy because I figured it out, even though I looked.
Did your father used to spank you with a book because of it and say
He
you're not the
may
son of a whore?
have. That's what he did. And then the next thing you know, I liked it. But when you have this, you end up with a mystery.
Not the Riddler. He's the Spanky.
The mystery here ends up being something that you it's weird. It doesn't seem like you can
It
kind of
doesn't
play
play
along.
out the way you want it to do because you have a one issue with Robin back in time in a circus in 1892 where Batman and Superman come back in time and accompany him in the circus. But before they can go back to the present day, back to the future, if you will, they have to come to terms with who's killing the men in the circus who showed up mysteriously out of nowhere. And now we want to blame the animals for their deaths, even though there's no hard evidence besides for blood on their claws to prove it.
And you
That
don't
is what we
really
have to
know
figure
these
out.
guys. There's
No.
not really a great setup. So what happens and why I said the Encyclopedia Brown, at one point, that damn Bugs Meany, that guy ends up saying he has a baseball card. And at the end, there was no way to play along. And it was just the idea of in this universe, that made up player never played second base. He was a shortstop. How the fuck was I supposed to know that? Like, there was no way to figure it out in the book. And this kind of felt like that. You end up having a mystery, and you want to play
use
along.
Encyclopedia Brown, but what I always go to is like for some reason I don't understand why, but people put the original Friday the 13th movie on this great pedestal, like they say it's the greatest in the series with Mrs. Voorhees. And the idea where you're watching this movie that has the killer with POV, so you never know who's actually the killer until the end reveal. But throughout that movie, you have a lot of red herrings because it's a murder mystery. You're trying to figure out who the murderer is. And at the end, oh, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. You've never seen me before. I'm like, that's not how you play this game.
I even got a little of that with Scream, but still, when you're going through all of this,
You knew every character in Scream.
Yeah, you end up, I'm saying though, it seemed like something you kind of learn later. But this, you meet the characters, but you're only going to meet, I mean, at the end, you kind of think, well, it had to be them. We didn't meet anybody except that lady making the stew and liking Superman.
What about the juggler and what about the clown?
But you don't really meet, and really, you don't even meet the other people. So with that, you have to go really quick, and it just felt like a filler issue. You even had Travis Moore on art. You don't have Dan Mora, almost like, hey, Dan, you work ahead. We'll just do this. We'll fill it in. We have to get, Dick Grayson back in regular time. So but even then, you just end up having Batman and Superman show up and like, hey, we did that thing that Supergirl did. Pretty cool, huh? Now let's do it again and get the hell out of here.
It's such a weird idea, though, because of what we're dealing with time, because whatever they were doing back in Corto Maltese with the Demon Nezha's tomb and stuff like that, and figure out how to do it, where you had the temporal storm that, jostled Robin out of Supergirl's, hands to where he fell in time. And oh my God, Dick Grayson, the boy wonder, he's dead. We just get to the idea then, like, all right, well, I guess I'm stuck in time somewhere, and I guess I'll leave a note underneath a boulder for Superman and Batman to find in the present day. But for some reason, just the logistics of it's like, okay, we're here at Corto Maltese. Supergirl, she's going to go fly real fast to go back to the future with Robin. For some reason, him falling while they're already in the time stream, just to wind up back in the Corto Maltese in 1892, it feels like a weird play to be in the same place. But even when we have the idea, it's like, okay, Dick Grayson left them a note that he chiseled in stone and put under a boulder that Superman then found with his X-ray vision. Hey guys, come find me. Robin, I'm like, well, maybe a date might be nice.
Yeah, maybe exactly.
But then we just use our supervision to see the tachyon particles to go back and follow the time stream. Like,
it's really
you're just making it way too easy.
It's just
like
way
we're dealing with somebody
now,
trapped in time. You're like, oh no, I got this, no problem.
And the funny thing is, I'm reading some reviews and things like that.
Out of it.
And like you said, it's just like Robin wouldn't say, like, come get me 1898 or 1804 or whatever the deal is. It's
Doc's
like, no,
plan to get to Marty in 1955 was way more concise than this.
I mean, a lot of times they'll even go with the idea that Batman will show how clever he is and say, oh, this was before they did the leap year, and we have to do this, and we got to do that, and this is where they lost a day. Like, he'll have all these things going on. Nope, it just says, come find me, and we follow the tachyon particles. And it felt weird. Now, some people are playing it off as, well, that's kind of the golden silver age deal.
Oh, it totally
and
is.
I actually go against it a little because I've read some things like this, and boy, that shit gets dense and wacky. It never is this easy. It's almost like, well, I'm going to do that. Then we go to the moon. Then we, put something up our
not
ass.
Only just the idea, because it's over the top kind of stuff. Because even like, so we used her trick, X-ray eyes, capturing a tachyon trail to follow your note back through time as best we could. Once we found you, we didn't want to draw undue attention. So what did they do? Batman took off his cape, became a trapeze artist with Robin, and somehow surprised him in the middle of his act. And Superman's a strongman because he took his shirt off, and nobody can see the S and cape no more.
He took his shirt off.
He's incognito.
I just love the idea that there's Dick Grayson. He goes back, and
that is a Silver Age look right there with these three hitting a freaking, a circus.
Yeah, I guess that the idea that when Dick Grayson comes over there, he's already dressed and he's not going to take it off. But you don't really have to worry about your secret identity back at Corto Maltese
Still
in
a cool
the circus.
To be a freaking trapeze act, though.
It's kind of a weird play to show up like that. That would be like me showing up at Kinko's for
Jim. You dress for the job you want.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I show up at Kinko's. I've already got the uniform on. Yeah, I'd like to apply for a job. They're
Looks
like, look
you're
at this
already hired, sir.
Like,
and that's how the game is played.
Why aren't you clocking in? I'm like, oh my God, it worked. It worked.
I don't like playing dress up. That's why I'm a failure in life.
I just felt it was odd. Now
I love playing dress up. That's why I'm a failure in life.
The play of this, the circus actually doesn't feel that wacky here. Like, it feels right. I mean, it does. But the idea, this is why people don't trust carnivals or circus, because you're just going to hire anybody who just walks out, like swims out of the ocean. But also these other guys, they're at least somewhat of the bad guys. When you end up having the one guy and he's like, I don't know, I just got here, but those animals, they ate my partners. I'm not going to tell you what we're partners in, but hey, they ate them. There's some sort of money involved, a bank robbery, something like that. The twist is that Caesar, the guy who's like the lion tamer and the animal trainer, he ends up being part of it. He found out about this, and now they're in cahoots, but now he wants to take care. 3 guys who
came on the last time they were traveling came on to the circus to become extra hands or whatever jobs they need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of quiet guys, but they kept themselves.
I like that they do a good job, right?
They do a great job because they're playing undercover. Well, they robbed a bank and they're trying to lay low and move from city to city incognito like Superman is when he takes his shirt off. But we have here, Caesar found out about it and he wanted to get in. And then they just started killing off each other because why split it 3 ways? We split it 2 ways. And then why split it 2 ways? We split it 1 way. I just want to know at the end, when you have these hardened criminals who are on the run from the law, who come up against a lion tamer, when you have the idea, it's like, okay, I'm going to set a fire as a distraction. So I get this guy who I'm screwing over and I get him inside of a lion cage. I just want to know the point where Caesar, who's just a humble lion tamer, maybe he is a badass because who tames lions in their free time and makes a job out of it?
But he doesn't seem to love the animals.
How does he get him inside the cage and lock it behind him? Because I'm already not trusting this guy who's already, watched me off one of the guys, and then we worked together to off another guy.
He put like little pieces of like Reese's Pieces on the ground. Oh my God, piece candy goes in. I don't know. There are some weird things. Also,
I'm like, I need to know the logistics of this because I'm not getting my ass into a lion cage.
At one point, when Robin is thinking of this, and you kind of get the idea. Okay, this one guy, he seems real sus. He had to have killed his partners. And Robin says, "Boy, I have to figure this out before more animals get killed." I'm like, well, first off, I think that he's done with the plan. Like, he's not going to kill himself. The twist then is Caesar's going to. And then the big play is they start a fire in the big top. A lot of craziness going on. Everybody's screaming and yelling. And Robin sees that Caesar leaves the animals behind. Now, again,
that's the tell.
There are a lot of animal lovers. There's also a lot of eye lovers. Like, holy shit, the thing's on fire. I'm out of here. I love the animals. I love myself more. I'm getting out of here.
Well, Jim, just because you've never loved anybody but yourself doesn't mean that other people don't feel that way.
That is true. See you later, family. I'm running. I'm like, I'm going to go get groceries. They're like, it's on fire. Help. Whatever. You go. But yeah, that was the big but everything is really quick.
It is.
Again, this isn't a horrible issue.
This is not Knives Out. This is not a great, murder mystery thriller that you have to dive into and look at the clues. This is one issue of Batman, Superman, and Robin, 1892 in a circus trying to pass by while there just happens to be a murder mystery afoot.
It just felt weird. Like, I guess they needed that month, reprieve after the last arc and then going to the next one. Which
is weird because next up we have Boy Thunder. I'm like, that's right. We're getting back to that. That's our next big story, Boy Thunder.
You would have thought, like, the idea of Dick Grayson being lost in time, it would have been something a little more intricate, something a little bigger, something where Batman, that'll happen to him at a point. This continuity is very wacky, so you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what we're playing with the world's finest?
So you don't know what the deal is with that, but you could have had, wacky stuff going on, and this is just very basic.
Point, like, oh my God, you guys found me. I thought I was lost in time forever. Yeah, I'd hate if that ever happened to me.
Yeah. Also, he's like, you wouldn't be lost forever. You'll die of old age soon. You're not gonna but even then, writing that on the rock and finding the rock, it's like you said, it's very Silver Age, Golden Age type deal. It feels more Golden Age actually for me than a Silver Age deal, but it also works maybe as a all ages type of thing that everybody can get involved, but it's skippable if you're reading this series. You don't have to read this to really get anything of it. If it's on your pull list, fine. But you even have a different artist.
It's not that big a deal. It does go with the series that we had so far because it does resolve the idea of what happened to the boy Wonder when he was lost in time.
Weird, the idea where now we see, that was just kind of set up to have this one shot and get out of there.
The thing that felt weird about the one shot is that we have Batman and Superman show up and say, yeah, we did that trick that Supergirl did. And also she didn't want to come because, she felt bad that she's the one that did this deal. I'm like, well, why didn't she want to fix her mistake then? Why did she want to leave me to die? It feels weird to not have Supergirl involved.
What was the reason?
I'm just a jinx.
Well, yeah, what is the reason? She cousin Oliver?
Kara the Jinx.
What is the deal? Why? Maybe they just didn't want her there to muddy it up. You just want the two there and you have the dudes in the circus because then they end up getting it. You have the old lady who makes the stew. She's after Superman. He's blushing.
Hey there, muscly arms.
Hey there, big boys. Come up and see me sometime there, Supermans. I like it. I wish that they would have just started yelling, he's a Superman. Oh, my goodness.
Sure is.
It's skippable. Batman, it's funny. Batman takes his cape, but then at the end he puts it back on, and then they're all hugging, and then they're just going to disappear.
And nobody wants to talk about a flying man and everything insane they saw while the big top was on fire, or even the idea after the big top burned down and Superman somehow, flew out the top and then, created a tornado with his breath and then flew all the flames out of there, that the next morning, magically, a new 10 arrived. I'm like, all right, look, I know you're back in time. You're Superman. You can do whatever you want, but where did you get that 10 from?
Who knows? Maybe he followed the tachyon particles to the latest tent store.
I know the thing is you can get a tent here because of who you are. I know that in a normal day, Bruce Wayne would just throw some money at it, but you only got Bruce Wayne money in 1892. Did you steal somebody's tent and bring it over here because you felt bad?
Yeah, I don't know. At the one point, I love where Superman busts through the top, and then he starts blowing on the and Robin yells out, "The whole tent is waterproof with paraffin. You'll just spread the flame." I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, but hey, I'll go with it. Oh,
I'm telling you, that seemed like the smartest bit about this for some reason. Like it seemed like this really unneeded little detail about the idea about in 1892 they freaking sealed the tents with paraffin to make it waterproof. Or maybe that's something they still do today. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not a circus major, but the idea that this is a really big detail we needed to make sure that was in this book felt really odd.
I think that, again, I think Mark Waid's having fun with it.
But that paraffin tent, we got to make sure people know about this.
I think that's something like in the day, I think Mark Waid's playing with the idea, because I'll go and I'll read some older, everybody does, but I'll read some older stuff for even podcasts and things like that. And a lot of times, like when I read the Metal Men's first appearance, you end up having that, but then you have the next page after it that actually describes all of the metals and all these neat little tips of them. And it felt like that was something that...
Did you know that mercury is the only metal that's liquid at room temperature?
And just to let everybody know, that is the joke of Mercury. That guy is hard and heavy the minute that he is introduced. I'm like, that's all he's
just got. Like me right now, hard and heavy.
Little like, hey, if you kids, you want to know about these metals. And I kind of got the feel that he was trying to play that sort of thing off. But yeah, when you end up where they say... We used her trick, X-ray eyes capturing a tachyon trail, to follow the note back through time as best we could. And even I do like the idea Batman figures, well, I know Rob, and I think that he will leave a note at the only place that we would know that he would go to. Then I'm thinking, well, Batman, you're lucky he didn't like fall off into the middle of Egypt or something. I mean, you really got lucky because he really can't go that far or whatnot. But like you said, it was weird that he fell off right where they were. Anyway,
and even the idea that he got a job in a traveling circus, but they're right where they need to be still.
Well, you know, they're not traveling so much yet, Eric. The traveling will come the next day.
Like Dick Grayson feels like he's brought himself to this entire life to where he seems to have his own trailer. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean, he really took
How long was he
quickly.
Here?
I don't know, Eric. Maybe all of time. Yeah, and I think that the players listen. These idiots in court, they love that giraffe. We are here for months. They keep paying us money. We're just going to stay here. This is the greatest.
I kind of wish for some reason it would make no sense at all. The people that Robin is going around with and showing when Bruce and Clark show up, like Hester's a full stop. Like is full stop the most talented juggler I've ever seen. Wherever we go, he always sends half his weekly paycheck back to his wife and 2 kids. Seems like a weird detail.
Were you thinking that, first off, that money will never get there? Plus, there is no real paycheck. It's actually going to be cash money,
it's
right?
Fine. It's never going to make it in 1892.
No, it's never making it.
Invented fire eating techniques that are still used in our time. She had polio as a kid and wanted people not to notice her for this. Pagliacci speaks 9 languages and tell dirty jokes in all of them. And then the Rudolphos called themselves the Living Maps. For a decade, they made a point of getting a different tattoo at every stopover. And for some reason, when I had these here, because of what you have with like clown and fire breathers and stuff like that, I wanted these to be some kind of weird, Gotham-esque kind of rejects, where they're like the Joker's like a part of this, even though it's just a crime. Like there's something there. Like we're the tattooed man, even there's something that feels like it's connected somehow, even though it's out of place at a time that makes Robin, even though these are awful threats in his purpose, to make him feel like more at home just because these are things that are very close to home.
Like Pagliacci speaks 9 languages and kills people randomly. So when Dick Grayson gets back to the regular timeline, he can go up to the Rogues then and act like he's Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. You were there, and they'll just kill him.
I don't know. For some reason, just to have that weird little duality of what's going on here.
Look at him. He's there. He's telling everybody the aristocrat in every language he knows. They're all
even a juggler kind of thing. All of these people here could be supervillains in the 1892.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool. But you're in out. It gives it a little flavor. You get that idea that Dick Grayson, as we know, is very comfortable in a circus. Does remind him of his parents, stuff like that.
Makes him sad because then he remembers his parents.
They solve the crime. I would have laughed if this whole crime is set up and then Mark Waid just screws with us and he's like, we got to go, Rob. And he's like, oh, well, it really doesn't matter that much. And they leave. But they end up thwarting the deal, and now we realize that the circus is fucked because they don't have a lion tamer.
Oh no, my axe.
And now the lion
The acrobat's gone, the strong man.
running rampant through and that's
Three
the
of
other
our
thing.
two of our hands are dead, and the other one just got arrested for bank robbery. The
They're
other one
screwed.
our lion tamer was arrested for like an association with bank robbers and murder.
The next night, it's a packed house. Everybody's heard of the strong man.
Hey, Pagliacci, get out there, do your thing.
Batman deal. Pagliacci's then. Now he's on the trapeze. The trapeze, he dies as he's trying to fill in. He's telling a joke. And then, tattoos. They're walking around showing their tattoos. Oh, my. Yes, but at the end, like I said, it's not bad.
Esther, go and juggle us up some acts. We're dying out here.
And the lion has just killed like 7 kids. But
Simba.
it still looks good. It's not as good as Dan Moore, but Travis Moore does a good job.
Good.
It's pretty good. And it's just one of those things. Like you said, the only reason you need to read it is that Dick Grayson, he came back from
Thank
being
goodness.
out of time. They found him. Supergirl's embarrassed, very odd, but now we're ready to go to meet
Jinx.
the boy Thunder. And I hope that'd be great if she just goes by that and then slowly morphs into Cousin Oliver. I always thought Cousin Oliver was John Denver's son or something. Not a great look, Eric, that Dutch boy haircut. But
It's a
we'll
great
see
look.
the
I know what
boy
you're talking
Thunder.
about.
I'm actually looking forward to how that plays out. That
Me too,
seems like
because it's
more
just a
goofy
crazy,
fun.
weird Silver Age deal.
Exactly. So what would you give this?
Ultimately, like you said throughout this whole thing, it is a bit of a filler book. The murder mystery never really gets there. It's just a way for the story to actually feel like it makes sense and is worthwhile when Superman and Batman show up. Like, we got to stick around. There's a murder mystery afoot, gang. But ultimately, it just never comes together, and it's kind of silly by the end. And if you want to have some Silver Age fun, go and get it, because it is the world's finest and Robin all together in the freaking carnival in 1892. It's a bit of fun there, but ultimately, I'm going to give it a 6.8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a little higher than you, actually. I'm a 7, slightly. Just, the art's good, like you said. And I was just thinking as you were talking, the idea, if you just want a nice little adventure, it's something you could give this to, a kid that maybe wants to see what the Big Daddy.
Kids my comics.
Hey, Big Daddy, what do you read? And they're like, well, you can have this one. Mess this one up because it really doesn't matter. But it's something that's cool and keeps with that, nice feeling that you get with this book that some people call emotions. They're foreign to me. I don't know what that really means. But it's something
the top
that people
shelf of your kitchen's foreign to you.
That is true, Eric. Also, any flight of stairs I try to avoid. The next book, though, I'm not going to avoid, Eric. How about that? Is that a segue? I'd like a segue to maybe get my ass to the refrigerator. Batman the Night #8, written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Carmine Di Giandomenico, Ivan Placencia, and Pat Brousseau. Nobody blocked us on that one. Eric, we're going to continue and get near
and you don't know
the
that.
ending of this series. I keep forgetting. It's funny because later we'll talk about Black Adam. I keep forgetting that's 12 issues. I keep forgetting this is 10. And when we get to this, you can see we're getting to the end game of it. We're going to see what goes on. And just as an aside,
the end game's better than this issue.
Well, and a lot of people love this issue. I did not. Now, some people were worried about this issue. I think that was kind of silly. But even by the end, it feels like the story doesn't have 10 issues. And we're kind of like, let's push this one a little further.
12 issues if you had this guy who's one of the smartest men in the world that Bruce goes to, this Dr. Daniel Captio, who is a master of understanding his own mind and how to use that Bruce wants to learn from, how mastering your mind over matter, not feeling pain, disassociating the mind from the body. Because I thought this is where Bruce was going to learn the idea of the Zuran to really focus
that
the
would have
idea
been
if something
cool.
ever happened to his mind, there is a backup, a failsafe to tie into the actual Batman book. And we don't do any of that here. I'm like, you had the perfect opportunity to freaking tie something all the way back to the beginning of Bruce Wayne's trials to become Batman. And no, best die here.
And you're saying that some people might think it's crazy, but right now Chip Zdarsky's doing that in the regular Batman. That would have been really clever to do that. And I didn't even think of that. So I give you kudos there. Also, the idea of this, I just wanted a little more. And what I was going to say, I actually forgot. I'm a little flighty here. But what I was going to say is, as the solicits have been released this week for November, you see that some of this Batman the Night seems to be setting up what might be a story later about some of these trainers and things like that are being killed. So when you do that, I know.
It was a dream machine.
I want more than just this Lou Gossett Jr. looking dude that he doesn't do much. You don't really get enough in my mind of explaining exactly what he's doing, what he's going. And when you said the Zoran art stuff, it really would be cool if Bruce realizes by the end, this guy's he's mind controlling me. This guy could, but instead he's just tricking him with, fake documents. Here, I gussied up this photo.
Oh my God, this whole idea where
like those aren't the mind games that I think this guy would play.
Our
right?
entire book, though, is based on the idea that Batman keeps, wherever he goes, he keeps having things sabotaged to him. He's like, it's got to be that Anton because, he keeps getting trained by these people. And he's a bit of a dick. I know that he's the one doing this to me. I got to be more like him because he's just playing with me right now. I got to be a sociopath to match his psychopath. So I'm going to learn how to disassociate my feelings and my mind from the job that I need to get done. So I'm going to go to Dr. Caprio here. But in the end, when you have the whole thing being Ra's al Ghul took a liking to you boys, he wants you over there at the League of Assassins. And also to do that, he's been testing you and Anton along the way with all this stuff, but in the shadows. And also it seems like he might have paid Dr. Caprio to be a part of this, where they then doctored up photos of his girlfriend from high school and Alfred being murdered together. I'm like, this is not working out together.
See, and it's not working out. And what I needed to see with this, because at the beginning of the series, and again, this doesn't ruin the series. I still do like it. We really like last issue.
I just feel like it's a down issue for what we're dealing with because now we're getting to the end game.
I think it's a down issue because it does seem forced. It just kind of happens. And like you said, the idea that all of a sudden it looks like Ra's has been behind it all. Well, you came to this part and we didn't see like something that pushed him towards him. Or something that did this. And in the meantime, still, I think that Chip Zdarsky's still screwing me because I was already mad that Anton / Ghostmaker had killed one master. He's killed two now. And I'm like, well, how many is he going to kill?
Two.
And well, he says that. We saw that wasn't quite the first one. That was a little off. And now when we don't even see what he actually did or what happened, I don't trust that guy at all. But I kind of like the idea, but not quite the idea that Bruce thinks that to be the best Batman, to go back to Gotham, he has to be more like Anton, even though by the end it almost feels like, and it's not done, he still has to go to Ra's al Ghul, but almost like he gets kind of like, you know what, the power was always within me. I need to care.
That's not what I need. My humanity's my strength.
But that seemed like that's too much of a thing to just throw into one issue that involves, hey, look, these people were killed that you loved. Oh, no, I'm going to get that Anton. Oh, my God, Anton's hurt. Oh, my, I'm going to get this guy.
Anton happens to be right here, right now, and he's on the verge of death, and somebody's going here to battle me that just battled him.
And even then, like, I thought in my mind, like, Bruce, like, are you that dumb? Even though it's not what I thought, but I'm like, Anton's there. This is just more of the trickeries. This can't be right. It can't end up being that much a coincidence here. And it is. And then it's just this guy. Yeah, I want to fight you. You got to go to
not
Ra's.
having enough time to really play any of this stuff out and how it just is thrown at you. But one of the big things that I wish we would have played with more, besides for the idea of this, Dr. Caprio and just being kind of bored and wanting to study Bruce's mind and play with him because he's kind of a weird puppet master kind of guy. But when you start off with the idea that Bruce is there studying with somebody who calls himself Sky Spider, it's all about like doing human fly stuff and grappling down buildings and stuff. But when the whole basis of Anton / Ghostmaker's costume is based on her mask, I think we should spend a little bit of time dealing with that because that seems like a big deal for Anton.
Yeah, he likes the mask there, and he is the Catwoman, Eric. I don't know. You end up with this, and some people thought that when you ended up having this deal going, hey, they were in love with each other and whatnot, I think that was overblown. Though I also think I think that the way that it was explained of that, Anton broke your heart, I think that was a little bit overblown in the issue itself, too. I think if I was Bruce, I'm like, no, he just kind of pissed me off, and I kind of got mad. I don't know if it broke his heart, but he ends up, going through all this. At one point when I was paging
about the idea of his loved ones, I kept waiting for it to show up when he's talking about Dana, when he's talking about Alfred, his parents and stuff like that. I expected him to at least say Anton, too, for all this the people were talking about online, but Anton was never brought up.
Yeah, I'm saying, though, he had pictures of them being, murdered. So he's yelling about those. But when he's there, he kind of in the know. He seems very concerned. Is he okay? Please make sure he's okay. But it's just, him and his buddy, his murderous buddy who's now killed two of their mentors. But with all this there, I thought that it was just out of nowhere to just get somebody. Okay, what can we do? Well, let's have somebody who does mind control stuff.
Not exactly mind control, just kind of a puppet master kind of guy who likes toying with minds and stuff because he's all about the human experience. Where he's a guy, he's a weird duality of the idea that everything matters to some, aspects in life, but nothing matters ultimately.
Well,
and he
that's
sits himself away from humanity because, people are stupid. And this is what he does. But he gets bored with this, life and the existentialisms that he's put himself through. So now that Bruce Wayne is here, and he has a very interesting mind, this guy wants to play with it a little bit.
Well, and really what this guy can do, he can flip a switch and become a guy who has no emotions. He's a sociopath at this point, but then he can flip it back. It seems back and forth. That's what Bruce wants out of him. He wants to go out at night as Batman, be able to flip a switch and not care about anybody, not care about what he's doing. But we all know that is his strength. He has to care. That's why he's doing this. That's why he is training in the first
I didn't
place.
see any of that in Tom King's humanized Batman series.
Well, he cared. It was just through very much anger and screaming, Eric. But he ends up where, he doesn't want anybody else to get hurt like he was. That is the care. He can't just go out and say, okay, I'm a robot, I'm going to take them down. And so with that, though, there's not much to this. It really does. I was doing robot arms while
Even
I was doing that.
Anton shows at the door all being like, this guy, he's the one who's been doing all this stuff to us. Oh, I should have known it. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to end this because I still think for some reason that Dana and Alfred are dead, even though I'm going to find out very shortly that it was all a ruse. But Bruce Wayne, my name is Harazuma. I'm known out in the world as the Still. I'm like, it's Still. You make alcohol, but I've been watching you.
Makes the
with
moonshine.
Great interest.
That's the sidekick. Moonshine.
So it's like, go to hell. Like, excellent. Let us see what you're made of. And it just becomes Bruce, with all the training that he's done to be the best, and actually says at one point, I am the best. So he has, a big head about himself. This guy who's known throughout the world as the Still beat the shit out of Anton. Bruce Wayne comes in here and he's able to put his feelings aside or use his humanity as his strength to overcome the Still. And it's just at the end, I softened them up for you, Bruce. It's from Anton. So ultimately, this guy who's this big bad, who should be the ultimate foe, Bruce has overcome him in what feels like kind of an easy way.
And then saves him, Eric. But also, I think he might be a vampire. I'm not sure.
Vampire.
I'm looking at the fangs, Eric. Those are vampire fangs that you see.
I want you to look at your own teeth.
Now, I'm telling you, you look at page 22, you see one set of teeth, and then you get another. That bottom deal, those are jumping out as fangs. Those are not regular teeth.
I have teeth just like that.
No, then you're a vampire because those are pointed out and both are very big.
This is my canines.
You got some really odd canines. And the way that it's centered on, it does look like Bruce is the one, then the other guy's the other. And I do think that we're going to find out because I think the Still will maybe even come up in the new, it might even be the murder that they're talking about in that solicit. I bet you that this guy's the vampire.
So like 20 years later, the Still is coming back for revenge?
And he's not going to have aged. He's a vampire. So there you go. He's going to end up coming back as the vampires. But all this does is basically we need an issue to get Anton back with Bruce, and they have to go see Ra's al Ghul. That's all this ends up being. And when Bruce comes back, he finds, oh, you doctored those photos. You were messing with me. In a way that seemed like it was like, well, I wanted to see if you had learned your lesson and can turn off the emotions, but you can't.
I wanted to see a man cry.
Yeah, it just ends up where it doesn't really play out the way it should. All it is to get Bruce really angry. I know, I'm telling you, this is the guy Anton should kill. Put a bullet through his head. And they're like, let's go. This guy's got nothing for me because I like the emotions. And then you get the classic with this guy. Ooh, interesting to the end. You are. I love it. And like,
punch to the face.
Also, I didn't get the idea at the very beginning, just as a side, when you have Bruce coming in like, this guy that I'm going to see, he leads a nomadic life, that he goes through all this. I'm like, no, he's kind of got a castle. He's just hanging. But
it's an amazing place.
It's like, yeah. And I like, that's not very nomadic, but we'll go with it. It's a little dramatic, but by the end, I just felt like this was a little interlude, something that we kind of needed to set up.
To get the Ghostmaker back on board.
Deal to get the Ghostmaker back on board, and you throw in a couple trainers.
All right, Ghostmaker, or actually, he's not calling himself Ghostmaker. Okay, Anton, that vampire man at the bottom of that chasm over there. He said I had to go to the Crystal Hill in Abu Dhabi. Let's steal this guy's car and go there. Road trip,
and yeah, they're like, oh my goodness, the Bruce Wayne stealing a car. Do you take a shower with your clothes on? You end up where they go off and they're going to go to Ra's al Ghul, probably to sword fight bare chest.
For some reason, the weirdest line in all of this though is when they say, let's go find Mr. Ra's al Ghul. I'm like, calls him Mr. Ra's al Ghul.
Mr. Ra's al Ghul. And it looks good. It still looks really good. But yeah, really, it just felt like not a full story here. It just felt like something where...
Well, that's the thing is, I really thought this was like the perfect part.
And you could have. If you would have put that in, now we get something big. Because a lot of these things have given us that, ooh, that's where he got that idea. Oh, that's why he likes Catwoman.
And
Oh,
it would
that's
tie
why he
in
does
specifically
that.
with what Chip Zdarsky's doing in his current Batman run. And I thought that was the perfect play to have some synergy and like cross-play with what World's Finest is doing with the Robin book.
Yeah, even if it was the idea that this guy kind of was able to mentally suggest some things and he felt compromised mentally, that he would even say to himself, I got to figure something out to stop that later, whatnot. But yeah, you don't get that. He ends up punching the guy out, which is kind of funny. He's like,
Smartest man in the world. You didn't even see that coming.
I don't know that you see somebody whapping you in the face. He's no Kreskin.
I'm a dummy. I saw that punch coming.
I know. Well, a lot of times those really smart guys, they have no common sense. He's not street smart, Eric. He's cliff smart. He's on the oceanside mansion smart. He's not street smart. Not a lot of streets there.
I wish I was that kind of smart.
They just drive off, and you end up having, they're there like Malibu Stacy driving off in that car, off to go see Mr. Ra's al Ghul.
They're like Malibu Stacy driving off
they're in
that
car. They look like little action figures in there. You know what I'm saying? But it's like Daytona USA. How about that? It looks like a video game. They're
California
going around.
Rush.
Yeah. So with all of that, I need the Daytona that I swear to God was Sammy Hagar singing it. It always felt like it was him. But by the end, it's going to be continued, by the way, Eric. It's issue 8 of 10, so we know that. But by the end, what did you give it?
In the end, it's a bit of a down issue for me. I think the art's still great, but the idea feels squandered for dealing with the idea that Bruce Wayne wants to figure out how to, control the mind over matter situation, mind over body. And it just feels like, okay, here's the Ra's al Ghul, here's Anton, and let's move on. It felt like a really missed opportunity overall, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, my God, Eric. I knew it. I am, too. And
6.3 out of 10, I said.
It's funny that you gave it a Kiss My Grits 6,
6.3.
because that's what I was going to give it as well. But it's one of those things where a lot of times, and we say, this is kind of just a stopgap. You're going to go, and when you say at the end, we're going to Ra's al Ghul, Mr. Ra's al Ghul,
dun, dun.
That's big. I mean, then you're excited. Oh, my God, Anton's back. Some people like that.
And it ties into Ra's al Ghul training Bruce Wayne and Tom King's Batman Killing Time.
And it does. It ends up, unfortunately, getting all that going, and it's fine.
Maybe.
But with all of that going down, first off, what I like to think, if we're going to think ahead or whatnot, you will think, okay, what would Ra's like? Is Ra's going to actually like Anton a lot? Because Anton looks like he's the guy who will do the deal. He'll end up going to that extreme.
No, Jim, because that's the same thing why the reason that the help wasn't going to be there, like
and that's
the
what
air.
and I'm not even going with the help, but that's what I like. The idea that you would guess, or some people would say, no. You need a Batman who has that conscience and has that, because you need somebody who's going to do the right thing. So you end up where I think that that's kind of a cool setup. But when you go through this issue, and we said it already, with the Zor-and-Ar stuff, but you have this thing that you realize, okay, we're just going to get Ghostmaker back and go off. But that's when you really see, in my mind, when you see the really, really good writers, and I think Chip Zdarsky is a really good writer, so I'm surprised he didn't do it, where they end up making something that seems so little, like, this was just a setup issue. That, oh my God, they did that there. That makes everything elevated, and that would have done it. That really would have. That's one of the best script doctoring you've had, Eric. Mwah! Because that would have really went with the theme of not just showing you, hey, here's the trainers. The thing that I think impressed you from the beginning, because you were a little wary of this book, was kind of the subtle things that Chip Zdarsky was doing to show, that's why he ends up doing that. That's why he has that plan in place. That's why he did that. It's not everything that's just like, bam, wham, thank you, ma'am, in your face. It's kind of the set. And that would have been really cool. Where even if he said, I'm going to have to figure out something where I don't get mind whammied again, or, controlled like that or whatnot, I thought would have been pretty cool. Plus, I wish that if we had this training and he paid more attention, he could have gotten out of the damn nightmares in that Tom King deal. He should have been able to get out of that whammy jammy, which would have been nice to get out.
Tied into the idea of the dream machine the Lump put him into in Final Crisis and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that would be cool. And that's what we've liked about this series, besides what's like right in your face of just, hey, this is who trained him and did this and whatnot. It's been those little subtleties that you get. Ooh, that's what gave him
Where's
that
Mr.
kink.
Miracle at?
Yeah, that's what gave him that. Yeah, really. That is a big one. That is a big one, actually. Now that you say it, we have
Not
2
anymore.
more issues. Yeah, we'll see. We will see. But we'll move on to the last book of the section, and it's the one that had the song from the beginning, mostly, and it's Nightwing, number 95.
It wasn't for
It's
World's
written
Finest?
by Tom Taylor. Well, it was for the boys who were bad, Eric. It's written by Tom Taylor, art by Bruno Redondo, Caio Felipe, Adriano Lucas and Wes Abbott. I ended up looking up how to pronounce that because I don't even know what I would have said or done. And I've been a little bit down on this book with the idea that we don't have a lot of progression. It felt like fan service. You end up having everybody save Dick Grayson's ass. I don't mind it here. I think that this is one of the better issues.
I was so happy you said that because I'm sitting there like, oh God, we have the Justice League, we have the Teen Titans show up. I'm like, he's going to hate this because it goes with the same thing we had before. I'm like, but it works so well here with what's going on in Bloodhaven.
Yeah, and it works out better because in this, like, you can say that some of the other times it was the same, but for some reason I get the vibe here more that this is Dick Grayson's plan and he wants to get this done and he needs people, so he's going. The others always had to be like Tom Taylor seemed to be showing, look, everybody likes Dick Grayson. They'll just show up and do things and they'll make sure and somebody will do this. This seems like it was the full plan. It's like an Ocean's 11 deal where you have this stuff going on and you
but
do
not only,
get...
like, I said the Justice League, I meant the Bat Family. Though,
yeah,
but
the
when
Bat
you have the
Family.
Teen Titans, the entire Bat Family, but also like, Batwoman
Batman felt
because,
weird, though.
Well, I'm saying Batwoman felt great just because of the Maggie Sawyer connection, just jumping in. Like, I have a connection with her. If you need help, they're like, I'll come over to Bloodhaven and like work with you. I'm like, that's really cool. The idea, because even, last issue when it's talked about Maggie Sawyer becoming the police commissioner of Bloodhaven, I'm like, well, what's going on with the special crimes unit in Metropolis? So I'm like, I want to deal with that. Even bringing Dan Turpin in felt weird because I have no idea what he's been up to in the new continuity, if he's alive or not.
He's just walking around like Polly Walnuts behind Maggie. He's just waiting.
Dan Turpin and Maggie Sawyer here, but I'm so happy that you can, like, made that connection to, like, Batwoman, what they went through at the beginning of the New 52, because we feel so far removed at that point, and even whatever Batwoman's doing, because, she was in Gotham, and then she went to Metropolis, and now she's in Bloodhaven, like, all right, we're doing some stuff with Maggie Sawyer, and hopefully it's as cool as her teaming up with Atomic Skull for the Special Crimes Unit Metropolis, because I want more of that.
At one point when you have
Dan
Maggie
Turpin
there,
and the Atomic Skull.
I really wanted at one point, because you have Dick say, hey, you came really well recommended from Superman. I wish they would. Which one? Because I don't think John would know. That has to be the Clark Superman that would have done it. But in this book, it's so heavy on the John that I wish there. You mean, the older one? Or
I've never met that kid a day in my life. I don't know what you're talking about.
You have people in this that end up. The thing with Batwoman is either you're going to be like, oh, what's going on. You're like, oh, there's Tom Taylor kind of pushes the idea and wants to spell out DC were jerks and hard-headed and whatever. So he throws it in. Some people had problems with that
Jess
line.
Was
and I'm
furious when the Batwoman didn't get married.
That is a line there that I think that Tom Taylor hasn't been as subtle in this book with, where you end up having her explain why they didn't get married. And it ends up, if you're in the know, but you don't have to be. You can think that she's just talking about herself. And I thought that was a pretty cool play. I thought that was
a really
a pretty
cool play
one.
Because what you have here when Batwoman and Nightwing actually take out a group of, Blockbuster's boys to try to clean up Bloodhaven is like, what's that? What's with you two? I thought you and Sawyer were close. We were. I was supposed to marry her. Why didn't you? And I'm sitting here, I'm like, a little personal, Nightwing, but a mixture of stubbornness, stupidity, and fear. So I told myself I was doing it for her, but it's the biggest mistake I've ever made. That's a little add-on for Batwoman, obviously, but that first one, a mixture of stubbornness, stupidity, and fear. I'm like, that's DC.
Yeah, DC would not allow them to get married. They were supposed to get married in the New 52. They didn't, and then the creative team on the Batwoman book quit. They ended up leaving. So you end up having, where if you're in the know, you see that. It's a little shout out to the fans. But if you don't know it, it just kind of goes by.
And then Batwoman became a vampire, went to space.
Yeah, really. Vampire, the really sus things in that too, really. I forgot all about like the vampire stuff. Got a little too sexy in my mind, Eric.
A little too rapey in a lot of people's minds.
I didn't want to say that, but that's what it was.
I
a little too rapey.
Sexy, so
I didn't mean that. I just kind of meant there was some sex going on. I was keeping it, on the down low, but yeah, it got rapey. But you end up so did Aquaman though later. So you have a lot of that going on in the New 52 into the DCYOU. But yeah, in this, you end up having Blockbuster, who knows that Melinda is working with Nightwing, doesn't quite know the full extent of it until the end. And well, at the end, he really knows that it's Dick Grayson when he ends up pulling off his mask. But in this, the idea is, hey, she's working with Nightwing. We got to get him, and all this going down.
He's more upset with the idea that she is working with Dick Grayson, who is Blockbuster's biggest enemy right now, and not even Nightwing.
He finds out that they're both one and the same. And you end up getting, Audrey gets to step up and run over Blockbuster. I mean, everybody gets their little part, and it's wow moments and stuff and funny stuff. And in that, you could sit there like, Blockbuster, man, he got hit by a car. You know that's not stopping him. He even gets up right away and starts yelling about stuff. But
it's like a classic like action movie / horror movie kind of thing where you just have the monster right there and all of a sudden the car comes out of nowhere and just slams into him. Get in the car, let's go, and then drive off and the monster's getting up behind them.
yeah, and I like it.
She
And
knows
I
too
think that this
much.
is really cool. I even like where you think that Melinda is in big, big trouble. She's going to end up
She
getting
is.
just tortured. And, Nightwing comes
Look,
in.
I'm telling
and
you, she
kicks
got
some
out
butt.
of Blockbuster's control with like brutal and electrocutioner holding on to her. But that doesn't mean that her woes are not over at this point in time. Yes, she's even cutting a deal with Maggie Sawyer. Like, I was on the inside trying to bring Blockbuster down. I have the evidence you need to bring him down completely. I just need your help and stuff like that. This is all said and done. Yes, we took down 4 of his big operations, but when Blockbuster figures out that Nightwing is Dick Grayson, they are one and the same. There's still an entire city that's on the freaking payroll of Blockbuster. Melinda is not out of hot water yet.
Hopefully they have enough room where Blockbuster really goes to town and really shows how big bad he is. But right now, you end up having all of the cops on the take. You have
Maggie Sawyer doesn't know who she can trust.
Captain Obvious here. I mean, you end up having
Former Commissioner McLean?
Like, he is trying to play this game. He knows he doesn't have the files.
I'm telling you, he is playing in the devil's hand, but you know what I love is like, I have files on Blockbuster. I don't have them on me per se, but they're in a safe place. You just have to give me immunity this whole time. Oh, that's what you want? You have all these files on Blockbuster? I sure do. Blockbuster don't want to hear that. And then they shoot McLean right there in the interview room.
I love the idea that McLean does not realize that when they ask him, so nobody else knows of these files. You can't say yes, because if that's the case, if you're dead, they're gone. They'll never be found.
Our entire plan for this issue where Nightwing, the Bat Family, and Teen Titans all come together to take down Blockbuster's operation in Bloodhaven in one fell swoop is all because McLean wanted to play Big Dick McLean over here.
He wanted to be Big Dick McLean. All he had to say was like, oh,
Thank
shit.
you, McLean. You're the real hero.
I done wrong.
You kept your mouth shut.
Also, in my mind, I think maybe he would think to himself, like, I just have to stay tight. Hopefully, Blockbuster will get me out of this. But instead, he's got to be Big Dick McLean because he's supposed to have those.
McLean just reminds me of that guy, that freaking douchebag yuppie guy from Die Hard.
He does,
and
from
you just
Die Hard.
want him to die, and it's so satisfying.
Hey, John, I think you could get with the program a little, huh? The police are here now. It's their problem. Now tell these guys where the detonators are so no one else gets hurt. I'm putting my life on the line for you, pal.
Hans, this asshole is not my friend. I just met him tonight. I don't know him. Jesus Christ, Ellis, these people are going to kill you. Tell them you don't know me.
John, how can you say that after all these years, huh?
That's exactly who he is. I mean, to a T, even looks a little bit like him now. He actually cleans up well. Once he takes off the Sgt. Pepper's outfit that he had on, he looks like a pretty cool dude, right? But I'm telling you, all you have to say here is, well, I know where they are. I've left instructions. If I disappear, there's 2 people that are going to get this. And then he lives. He lives that. He's not going to get killed. But he's like, it is the guy from Die Hard. It is 100%. He thinks that he's being smooth, and they are going to kill him. And all you need is John McClane up there in the rafters going, don't do it, dude. You're going to die. No, don't do it. And yeah, he ends up. And it's a shock. I didn't expect it.
But it feels so good just because of how much of a piece of crap he's been this entire series.
It's probably I think it's the best part of this entire issue is that I mean, look at him.
Point blank murder.
Once he says it and he's like, oh yeah, there's a file and they seem interested. Oh my God, the hands go behind the back. The chair's tilted. He's like, ooh, smooth move. And then next thing you know, he's like, oh shit. And look at him when he has the rock eyebrow going. And then when he pulls out the gun, he definitely shit his pants, but now he's dead.
And as we all know, once you're dead, you do shit your pants.
Yeah, that is true. I think he also might beforehand, too. I double shit my pants. And then when you see where Maggie, sees that he is shot right in the chest.
Who is in there with him? Stone cold police officer. They telling this new commissioner shit.
I'm telling you, Paulie Walnut's right there. He should start, leveling people off. He's ready to shoot. But yeah, in that also looks like a vampire too, Eric. I think there's a lot of vampires this week we weren't aware of.
Weird things.
But I like when she sees this because this would definitely be who the fuck did I get into? Also, the idea if this happens, she knows right away. Even when she says, I want to know who's in there, she knows that there's trouble. Anybody who's going to do this, they're on Front Street of like, yeah, you're not going to be able to do anything about this. It's Blockbuster. He is everybody's on the take. So you're really showing. And finally, you're showing some things that aren't just, hey, fan service in this. This makes it, and in a way that we've been wanting to, showing how powerful Blockbuster is. You don't need to see him bashing walls and stuff.
The thing is, I don't know, for some reason, when you have Blockbuster here, like the criminal mastermind of all of Bloodhaven and stuff like that, he is the kingpin in this, and I want to see that aspect to him. But when the whole idea is where you have the Teen Titans and the Bat Family take down 4 of his operations at the same time because they have the files that McLean would have had, and Blockbuster finds out about this, like, Nightwing, Melinda Zuko, they're all behind us. I know, boys, let's go. When they just drive over to the Haven Park and he just shoots a rocket launcher, and I'm like, this seems a little lowbrow for you, buddy. I don't know. For some reason, like, this is a physical response where you're almost like a caveman now, lashing out instead of actually thinking things through.
Well, I mean, he ends up, he's like, I think Mr. Worth did this, and he got pretty good. He goes over with the thing. It's kind of the same. I actually thought it was to draw Nightwing and Dick Grayson out, but it doesn't seem to be. He just seems to be like, let's go over there. I want to take some frustrations out.
Hand me that damn rocket launcher. We're right outside the gates. I'll let him know that this is my city. This isn't their fucking haven.
Yeah, I mean, he is waiting for him. He does set up the libraries on fire, so he's setting up for Nightwing, but there's other ways to do it.
Like in the movie The Monster Squad, when the kids were screwing over the monsters and Dracula so bad and Dracula gets so pissed off, he goes and takes dynamite and throws it in their treehouse. He's like, class dismissed. I'm like, that makes more sense because it's Dracula going and doing what he thinks is killing kids. This is just Blockbuster having a temper tantrum and shooting an empty park with a rocket launcher.
But it does, like you said, you end up having a fire. Oh my God, the Haven Library's on fire. Nightwing goes in and Blockbuster's waiting. I thought he was going to blow the head off of that Alfred statue. Or like draw dicks on it or something like that. Would that have been better? That would have been better, right? He's there with the spray paint. Give me the spray paint cans, boys. Like, what is that? What are you drawing there, boys? Oh, my. But he does then go and run into him. He's waiting for him in the burning building. Look at him with the 2 kids, flames everywhere.
That rocket launcher, it's like I said, it's a temper tantrum. It does not become Blockbuster for what the Blockbuster I want to be the kingpin of Bloodhaven. But when Dick Grayson goes to the burning haven, because it's more than just the rocket launcher. I expected this to be a big boom and you blew some dirt up and stuff like that. But no, this starts a fire that starts going all over the place. And Nightwing and the rest of the crew, they want to try to save like the Haven Library and the Haven churro stand, shit like that. When Dick Grayson runs into the library to make sure that everybody's out, and Blockbuster is standing there, this gigantic, massive monster man with his hands just overcoming 2 kids' freaking heads because of how big this guy is. Talking about, I will squish one, and then I'll squish the other if you don't drop your sticks and get on the ground. This is the monster freaking that I want, like, Dick Grayson, Nightwing to go up against. I want this to be the psychopath that you are afraid of, that Nightwing does have to contend with. And at the end, when you just have him go up there and just beat the ever-loving crap out of Nightwing to the point where his domino mask falls off, and then and Blockbuster realizes that his biggest enemy and his new biggest enemy are one and the same. Well, I don't even know how we go on with this series with that knowledge. Do you throw money at him to shut his mouth?
Maybe.
Because it's the worst. At this point in time, you have one of the biggest bad of Nightwing, but one of the big bads in, the DC universe on a crime level, not just like universal level. But how do you come back from this? Because before we had him shot in the head, he didn't know who he was. And the only thing I can see from coming out of this is that everybody will know who he is.
Yeah. Or he dies. I don't know. You end up where I like when he's like, let's get to manipulating, and ends up stomping on his back and you get the little pain symbols. But when you end up having Blockbuster with those kids, that right there is the visual of the great Kali putting his hand over Rafe's head. It was exactly like that. I still get that.
Look, I don't want Blockbuster's hands over my kids. It was the great Kali.
Holy moly, the great Kali doing that slap. That was his big move. His power move was a slap, Eric.
Wasn't much of a wrestler, the great Kali.
I hate when you have the wrestlers. We talked about this many a time. But when you end up having what their big move is, the super version of another move, the super punch, the super slap. You're like, nah, it's just the slap.
Oh, your finisher's a belly to belly. That's weird because we usually just do belly to bellies all the time. Now it's the belly to belly.
Exactly. But yeah, so you end up where this is big stuff. I mean, this is crazy. And I mean, Dick has to be hurt. Look at that floor. Holy crap.
Not only is Dick might have been hurt, I'm going to be happy if Dick's not dead, because he could be well dead from what he's dealing with right here, because it's such a weird idea. I know you have to do what Blockbuster says. You're in a burning building with children, and he's just going to pop their heads like they're goddamn dandelions. But when you have the situation where he drops the sticks, gets down on the ground, and lets Blockbuster essentially look like he breaks his fucking back like Bane did the Batman here, and then stomp on his, then like King Kong freaking like pound on his face, or Hulk pound on his face. I don't know how you come back from this. I'm like, the thing is, I feel like Nightwing, though, you need to get him away from the kids, obviously, but you are essentially a Batman. you are a Batman. You should be able to get out of this somehow and not let this happen to you.
Happened before. That domino mask comes off, it sets off an alarm, and they know exactly where he is, and they will
Even
swoop
with
in.
the vitals, I think Orgo's right on the case. How do you come back from Blockbuster knowing who he is? And not, even if he gets scooped up, the wounds that he suffered right here are enough.
I'm sure we'll see some twists and turns. We'll see what is going on, how it plays out, how Tom Taylor gets out. I just hope it's something clever that ends up making sense and not just a hokey deal of, oh, I didn't see that, or I got knocked out afterwards and I lost my memory. It's going to be the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn deal every time. Oh, man, I can't remember anything that happened, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out with that. But the domino mask is definitely off, so we'll see. But what would you give it?
I love the art in this, and I love the culmination of all the stuff they were doing with Blockbuster to the point where we had this gigantic cliffhanger of like secrets never revealed, secrets no more. One of those situations where Blockbuster knows that Dick Grayson is Nightwing. His two greatest enemies right now are one and the same. And I also like the idea of everything coming together with not only the Teen Titans and the Bat Family, but bringing in new Commissioner Maggie Story together to get a unified force around the police and the heroes to bring this menace of Blockbuster down and make the Bloodhaven the haven that Dick Grayson wants. This is all great stuff, and especially getting the comeuppance of, former Commissioner McQueen. Great stuff. And give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm an 8.5 as well. I liked it. I thought that the art was really, really good. And we didn't even say some of the things where, they have to go and, hey, this plane is going off to do this. And you get the, characters can fly going. But I do like Wally who goes and, knocks on the window of the truck.
I got a Justice Leaguer at the window.
Hey, there's a
Can you
Justice
please
Leaguer
pull over,
here.
please?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And that's where, again, it wasn't just them showing up. When you end up having that, we're all in, and there they are, that's what you usually stop at. But when you actually see them going around and doing things so that Dick can go off and face off against a Blockbuster, and also maybe explaining why some of them can't then help because they're off doing their own little thing. Batman felt weird, like among all these kids in the back, like just standing there like, okay. I think that he's looking like, yeah, I'll let you guys, run the show here. I'll just be here doing my thing. But overall, I thought it was really good. And one of my favorite issues that we've had in a while in this book. So I was kind of excited about that. And hopefully it continues on. And hopefully, like I said, that we end up having some explanation of, Blockbuster, what he knows, how he knows this, all this also ties in with Melinda, all that stuff going down. And hopefully it's clever enough and isn't just some, weird way to get out of it, because it's big stuff. I mean, this is stuff that is going to take some finagling to figure out how to get out of if you are doing that. So we'll see if that's the case. But we're going to go off right now to some mail.
Mail, check out what you got now. Get your postcards, birthday cards, eBay or the stock cards. I get it while it's hot now. If a letter makes you wetter, then a better ready, better it's mail.
And it is time for the mail. And if you want to get involved in the mail, like Luis, who we're going to read from in just a second, email us at weirdsciencedccomics@gmail.com. And then you'll be a star of the show like Eric Shea.
Hi.
And here is the deal. You like that mail song more than the news intro. You don't like that news one you told me last night.
I don't remember the news one. When was the last time we did news?
News. I ended up throwing it in there because we were doing the solicits real quick. An impromptu news section last night in the TGIF.
Well, I don't remember it, but I'm going to say yes.
It is weird. You ended up saying, I hate that intro.
Well, then I'm going to go with what I said previously.
All right, but you do like the male one.
Yeah.
You like Steve there with
Somehow I'm going to make something wetter than a veteran doing something or another. And I'm like,
that.
I'm down with that. I don't know what you're saying, but
you
let's
always
get it.
like that part. But yeah, here is the mail. We have one mail, and it is the question of the week. As Luis does, he says, hello, Jim, Eric, and the toughest and baddest group. I know the Get Fresh crew. Question of the week. So last week I asked,
I'm going to do like a seal.
I'm Sammy the Seal. I cook for my meal. So last week I asked, who would you, I should have said bark for my meal. I said cluck, Eric. Isn't that what a seal does? Is that like when people
I've known
say
you a long time. This makes sense to me.
That's a gaggle, So last week I asked
gaggled on something last night.
Yeah, really. I know. That's what Jess told me. Holy moly.
No, I just told you.
Hey! So last week I asked who would write and draw your story of your life. This week is who would you want to narrate that story? Now, I will, step up ahead here just to get you to not be able to say the joke because I'm waiting for who's going to tell your short story there, Jim.
Well, that never even crossed my mind, but bravo.
Punch you in your face, sir. Bravo indeed. But I would have Patrick Stewart do mine because he is classy. Yes, Patrick Stewart would do mine. Who would do yours?
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr would do yours.
I don't need anything classier than like that's not like, the idea of like whenever you think of like who's going to narrate your life, it's something like, somebody with a great voice. You always want. I would have Bill Burr narrate my story that's written by Grant Morrison, come across a bunch of nonsense and go off and start commentating by himself for a while about what's going on.
It's like a cameo gone wrong. That's what you want. You want him to start commenting like, what the hell am I reading
look at
here?
This guy over here.
It would be funny. Now,
I want his anger to take him to a new level of like commentary.
Well, and I'm not going to tell you that my story would be great or anything, but at least Patrick Stewart might end up spiffing it up. And Eric, it might go a little something like this.
Jim's life story is a short one. A very, very, very short one. He looked up to almost everyone, and while he did his best, his triumphs were easily dwarfed by others. However, don't think little of him, because that would be low, and would put you down on that wee little lad's level. Also, he was kind of a prick.
There you go, Eric. It sound like that. See? That's
not
pretty
bad.
Cool. That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, like,
right?
It's not great, obviously, but it's actually way better than it ever has any right to be in my mind.
That is a pretty good story. There is the story of my life, just to spiff things up there. But with
one of your kids
that,
write that? Gosh.
No, I wrote that.
Oh.
I wrote that. I looked up. I'm like, what are the synonyms for being short here? And I also was going to put that I had a short temper, but I thought that was too on the nose, Eric. That would upset me. But with
two on your
that,
big nose.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks a lot, jerk. Look at you freaking milk skin looking, no biceps asshole, no eyes looking, can't catch a ball, jerk off.
Do you actually have some kind of problem with your nose? Because I never really thought about it. I just put it there because you said it was on the nose.
There's been times people say that, so I just got mad.
I never thought about it, never once, but it seems like you might actually have some kind of deep down problem.
It was one of those things that I ended up, it got broken like 10 times, so it's kind of a little crooked.
The rest of your face?
Still, you son of a bitch. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to come right over to your house. But with all that, yeah, if you want to email us at weirdsciencedccomics@gmail.com. And then you could be part of it as well. And that's that. He also says, see you in 7. So thanks, Luis.
Well, he stares into the mirror, moosing up his hair. Blows kisses to himself, and he really thinks a tear is tear. Well, that's just Eric Shea. Looking for a star screen, or maybe a hubcap. Spends all his money buying all that crap. Well, that's just Eric Shea.
Eric Shea, would you like Dice Man to do your life story? Would that be kind of cool?
I wouldn't Dice Man to do anything.
Yes, really. Maybe go away now, possibly. It's funny because having Patrick Stewart do my life story, I had told you that before. He had gotten a hold of us. He's a big fan of Jess. Eric, did you know that? And he wanted to do a little rendition of Jess and her rant. Eric, here it is. I did find it, and you never heard it, so I want you to hear that as well right now. A little bit of a, added bonus, right?
I am not a crazy bitch, Eric. I won't tell you what you can and cannot do, but that is inappropriate, and I am angry about that. You hear me, Jim? Edit that out. Have fun.
There you go, Eric. Have fun. I always like that one. But there is Patrick Stewart once again. I don't have Bill Burr. I don't have a connection to Bill Burr that I can get him to read things for me, Eric. But that Patrick Stewart, thanks, Pat, is what I say all the time. But here we are. We have 3 books to finish up this podcast. And it is funny that we kept saying the Bat Family books. Can we claim that maybe the Justice League is the connection to the Black Adam? And it's a weird book. And when they ended up announcing this book, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, but for those who haven't heard it, the idea that Christopher Priest really didn't want to write this book, and then said he doesn't really know what's going on currently in the DCU. So if he does write it, he's just going to write his own deal. And then he goes, and that's fine and dandy if you're going to write something out of continuity or whatnot, but dandy indeed. But you end up where, when I'm reading this book, why am I so confused of what the hell's going on?
And what I really thought, gods, Jim.
What I really thought, though, is one of the big things in my mind, and not that it's not Christopher Priest's job to do this, but in my mind, one of the things that people really probably are a little bit dumb on, is really what the Shazam word is for Black Adam, because Shazam. You do have other gods, though. The gods, I'm saying. Most people know the, Billy Batson Shazam deal, but when you end up, so I'm thinking that what we're getting at this one point is, he's going to explain, we're going to see these. They're kind of mentioned at one point, but not. But then we're just throwing in Sumerian gods, and then I'm completely lost. I have no idea what is going on. And I think that what happens is, and I saw not many people reviewing this either. You reviewed it, a couple others. Everybody seems confused, but they are hinging on that idea that, oh, Christopher Priest, he's a classic writer. He'll bring it around. But it's not always the case. We've had a couple instances with Christopher Priest where things kind of just fall apart. And we have so many more issues of this. And I just can't see how this can keep going on like this. You got to get something going that maybe the general public,
he's got 9 issues to do that.
Johnny P. But I'm saying it's so over the top now, weird, that I'm afraid people are just going to bail. That at one point you need to get back to just tell a story. Just tell something that you get people excited because the movie's coming out. Adam. This seems like it's just, almost like Christopher Priest. He really does try to make you work for your meal here. And I don't think that many people are hungry for it, Eric. But give us the credits and we'll go into it.
Black Adam #3, written by Priest with art by Rafa Sandoval, Matt Herms, and Troy Patiri. And in this, we were told at the end of last issue that Black Adam was going to hell. And that may or may not be the case, because what we get instead of Black Adam and any kind of hell that you may recognize, that we have Black Adam going back into space, like we saw previously where he was taking on Darkseid and Desaad, and knowing that's not Darkseid. Darkseid wouldn't be able to go down that easy. But in this whole weird turn, we go to the idea that he's in heaven/hell, just the afterlife in general, maybe, and that the Sumerian gods, the ancient Sumerian gods, are the one that are doing this. Because even when you have the idea where, Desaad put that necrosis on him that made him start to die, to pass his, powers on to Malik. Is that the idea that it was the Sumerian gods, or is this all just him experiencing it again while he's in hell, and then having to deal with the Sumerian gods who just want to play Neil Gaiman with him, with the idea like, are we the gods that people worship, or are we just a thought that were brought into existence? Are we not the gods that you, the original gods that you then turned into other gods? And we just have, Sargon, what the hell is it now? I can't even think about the Akkad. Sargon of the Akkad.
The Akkad.
Going and being he's a ruler of ancient Sumeria, but now he's going to fight the bull of heaven while he, goes and monologues to Black Adam about existential meanings of gods. I'm like, this is not what I want out of a Black Adam book, especially when we spend the other part of the book back in the hospital with Black Adam's dead body. And Blake thinking to himself, well, maybe he's not dead, because we start thinking about the idea. In there, you have Theo Adam, but you also have Black Adam. Are these one and the same people? Did Black Adam die and Theo might still be alive in there? Can I use my power as a doctor, and not only a doctor, but the power that he gave me to bring Black Adam back to life? These are cool moments because it actually elevates Blake and gets away from that annoying character that we're presented with in the first issue. But when you go to the afterlife with Ishtar and freaking, Sargon and the Heaven's Bull, and then impaling Sargon with the horns of Heaven's Bull, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you hate to talk about a book and say, I don't know what he's getting at, but I don't think many people will. I think it's played off that way. You got to go
back there and read the Epic of Gilgamesh, make sure you know about your Sumerian gods, like the Enki.
With that, no more Yankee my Yankee. You end up where, when this is going, one of the things that plays out, and it plays out visually, is as you have, Black Adam in this afterlife being talked. And you said it's very, American gods-esque deal. And we get this a lot, of the idea of gods aren't worshipped and they don't have power, but is that? And they're kind of questioning them, and the idea, we're not getting answers. We're getting a lot of questions, but they're kind of weird in the way they play out. But you realize
we're trying to deal with the redemption of Black Adam for what he did to get his power to the path he chose to get to this point where he's dead now, and the what family means, and being able to steal the power to then pass on the power to have some sort of redemption, and in the afterlife, and just dealing with Sumerian gods that seem to want to fuck with him. Maybe it'll get there eventually, but right now it's like, Urshkagal is going to do some stuff over here. I'm the sexier than my idiot twin, and all this other stuff. When you're, what are we getting from Ishtar?
It's frustrating
and stuff like that for ancient Sumerian religion. You want to talk about the Anunnaki? I'm like, you're not getting it here.
No, and my big play here, and you see it visually. You see what would be the classic looking Black Adam in this, afterlife, in heaven, whatever it might be. And then when you go and see Black Adam on the table, then that's the sexy looking. So you see that visually different deal when they're saying about, hey, maybe he's alive, but this is two versions or whatever. You kind of get that visually. So I'm interested to see how they play that out. But why is it where you end up having Christopher Priest come in here, and he's going to tell a Black Adam story, obviously. He didn't want to at first, but he's going to. He ends up going, Black Adam, even though he is in the Just League, you end up Bendis and throwing him on there, never really explained. I don't know that many people know a lot about Black Adam as compared to some other characters. So if we had a Superman or a Batman, Wonder Woman, all this, and you're playing this idea of dying and going, and this, I think you'd be on better footing. It's just here is you don't know. And I think a lot of people who would have picked this up are like, well, is this normal Black Adam stuff or what's going on? Who are these people and what are these gods? And is this the gods that end up giving them power, which they're not? And then you even have them mention at one point, and I think that it's getting lost in all this translation.
I'm telling you, when he just starts fighting Sargon of the Akkad, this whole thing, like, when you start waxing poetic, as you're beating the crap out of Black Adam in this afterlife, what if your gods were never gods at all? What if they were bacteria, biological particles in some absorption nebula, clouds of gas and dust you flew through in your explorations of space? What if they read your memories, your experiences, and gave you what you wanted? And the idea where you're just like, look, I don't care about you gods. I just don't care about this. And as for death, freaking immortals, we crave that shit. I don't know what the hell you're getting at here. And I'm like, yes, Erkala, the Dua, hell, is Kondak? Welcome to the Ghost of Christmas Future. And then he gets impaled by the freaking the fool of heaven. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Sargon.
Yeah, and then with Mr. Blaustein, who's there, who
the
is
State Department?
The State Department that's helping.
He's a Draculus.
Even and it's weird, like even that.
I love calling Black Adam and Draculus. I like that part. Everything, actually, I like everything that we do in the present day in the mortal plane.
I got
because
confused.
It's mostly just freaking Malik trying to figure out why he's dying. If it's not some kind of space disease that some new god put on, is it the idea that somebody's been poisoning his tea and then he has a teacup and all this other stuff? He is playing, doctor/detective, and he's not being infuriating. So I'm like, I like this part.
I don't, because you start off with, hey, we got to see if he's okay. What are you, his friend? I thought you were his handler. No, he's my friend. An Arab guy and a Jewish guy? That's fucked up. And then later, it kind of twists to him going, yeah, I don't really care. He's a Draculus and he killed people. I'm like, what happens from the first page to then? He seems to flip-flop over, and I can't really get a grip on anything that's going on. At first, he's saying he's a friend, not just a handler. Then he's saying, well, it doesn't matter. He's a Draculus. He killed a lot of people, so really it doesn't matter. Then that other doctor comes in that Malik knows because he's the deal, and then they're fighting about it. He's showing the credentials, and I don't get the concept by the end. I'm telling you that blouse, he flip-flops like 3 times throughout this, of I don't get what you're even there for. I don't get, he's there to spout some stuff, but at one point, he's against Malik. Malik's like, I'm a doctor. No, you're not. You're just
I think mostly he's here for is to allow Malik to go and do the stuff he does because he is from the government. He is able to take command of this hospital for the most part and make sure that the doctors and the higher ups of the hospital stay out of here while Malik, who is just, a med student, gets to do what he wants.
I don't know. I don't know the rules, but it feels weird to have it where you're a guy who's a statesman from Kondak, but now you're in the U.S., you're in Washington, D.C., in a U.S. hospital, but you can demand that an intern is able. But it's a diplomatic immunity. I don't think I could just go and say, really, hey, I want Eric to fly this plane. Oh, well, he doesn't really know that much about it. I don't care.
Well,
it's been revoked.
You can say what you want, but I know I'm not going to get in trouble for it because you know why? Diplomatic immunity.
But yeah, he ends up like,
I'm taking that shit by force. There's nothing you can do about it.
It's just weird. He's like, oh, and by the way, I don't want this person in that movie. He's going way off the top here.
Left and right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. He's all mad. Plus, I want you to bring back Firefly. He's just doing wacky things. But the idea of him doing that, it didn't sit. But it's okay. That's a comic book thing. But I just don't get the idea at the beginning. We got to save Theo. He's my best friend. What? Well, he's the Draculus. He kills people. So what does it matter anyway? I don't know what you're saying, dude. Because you're going back and forth.
Death is a weird time for a lot of people and how they deal with it, Jim. The weirdest part to me is in hell with the Sumerian gods to the point where Sargon gets impaled by the Heaven's Bull, and then Black Adam says, no, you cannot die. Pulls Sargon's mask off, and it's an aged-up Malik.
Yeah.
No! And then at the same point where Malik is using his magic to bring Black Adam back to life.
Man, all I can think of, Luke's in that tree on Dagobah. Shit's gone wrong, Eric. So when you're going through this, though, what I'm saying is about the stuff with Malik, yeah, that's a little better, but it's not quite that at points. Like maybe we were doing The Flash at one point. We didn't love, the whole idea of a Calypso story, but we love the kids, so it made the issue worth it. The Malik stuff doesn't make shit worth anything. This book has a lot of problems. This book has a dense wall to get through to even try to pick and choose what you might like. The concept of Black Adam dying, and let's see how this goes, may have a new, but that's interesting. But it's getting lost in and this is what you end up a lot of times where Christopher Priest what he does. He ends up not wanting to tell a straightforward story. Now, some people, when they don't do it, they'll get things out of time, they'll mix and match, whatever. No. He makes things so dense of things that may not mean anything.
I'm gonna warp your mind because you don't know what you're going to be reading.
But I don't know what at the end is going to be like, oh my God, that's why he had Sargon? Holy crap, I didn't see that coming. I mean, I wanted to go into this, especially with the movie coming up and maybe this out of continuity. You can tell whatever story you want. Just wanted to know a little bit more about Black Adam.
That's the Rock with superpowers with Dr. Fate and Hawkman.
But again, but in this, it's a weird play. What I really think, and when I said about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, stuff like that, this feels like one of those books where you've had a character like a Batman. We've seen every story ever told. So you have to do something wacky because you've never seen it before. Not with Black Adam. There's not a lot, especially for newer readers. There's not a lot to really grab onto with Black Adam. And you go into this, and I think that it might be one of those where people might confuse Black Adam in the idea of him just being confusing. Oh, man, that Black Adam, I'm glad I didn't read a lot of that because, boy, that's crazy stuff over there. But this is just almost feels like it's crazier than it needs to be, almost to mess with you. I always feel this way with Christopher Priest stuff. And he hasn't really been hitting that much with me, at least lately, especially the stuff over at Marvel as well. And that Justice League stuff that he did was nonsense. I mean, we did like Deathstroke, but even that, people will not admit that it fell apart by the end, that it got real wacky, ended up having to throw Batman in it even to kind of get sales and whatnot.
I'm trying to think at what point did it go crazy, because I think it even started crazy. Because I'm telling you, we got Wallace on the Defiance team, which I was all about the Stroke Squad, but I think before that he had stolen like his Speed Force, went back in time, and we caused Wally West to have a heart problem before that went away, and it got crazy. And then when you
remember that
Batman versus Deathstroke and everything like. And then Deathstroke died, came back to life, but then another version of him came out of the multiverse, and then he had to come out of hiding from his.
Then we
had a lot of problems with Deathstroke.
Hobos
some cool
that
stuff.
were aliens, that the alien invasion, that maybe the guy was crazy, but it never really was resolved that well. And it was just that crazy guy. Was he not crazy, and all that stuff going? And then you ended up even having, say, Tanya Spears. She disappears in a rift. They can't get her. She might commit suicide. All this stuff going on. But it always ends up where when you're reading it, you're just like, what's going on here? And that's kind of where I am here. I'm not really enjoying this. I'm more confused than anything else. The art looks pretty good. I like Malik. I like him. And you're right. In this, at least he's just doing things. He's desperate. He's trying to figure some things out.
Showing that he's a leader and not a walking pop culture dispenser.
And it's a weird play. Like you almost seem like Christopher Priest has to set up these barriers for him to get through to do just his normal stuff. But when he does it, he is on the case and shows that he's smart, shows that maybe he doesn't want to do. I'm still not sure what killed
Black Adam, because it seems like the idea is like whoever did it got to his teacup. And I'm like, we never really got back to that. I'm hoping now that Black Adam is alive because we used the power to restart his heart and bring him back from the friggin', the underworld. I'm hoping that we get to more of that in the next issue, because this felt like a weird detour. Because when I saw previously Black Adam in hell, I'm like, oh man, will he be able to find redemption in hell? I want to see Black Adam in hell, what that looks like. And now I saw it, and I don't ever want to see it again. So I hope we get back to the way the story was before we went to hell.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, because like you said, you end up having the bull of heaven go and impale, and then
Sargon,
he ends up
Sargon
gets impaled. And then he's an agent.
And even the idea,
screwy.
Is this heaven? Is this the underworld? Or is it just the oxygen-deprived brain creating hallucinations? Like, we don't have any answers to anything in this issue.
Again, I don't need you to start, waxing poetic of, is religion something, or is this just, the graspings of Neanderthals trying to grab, let's just tell a story here. I've heard all this nonsense, and most of the times the guys are sitting in a room high as a kite, yelling the shit. So when you go back, though, cool. When you end up having, Black Adam come, it actually is the, Black Adam, not the sexy Black Adam that was in the bed before. So I don't even know if that's of
and you
mind,
see the sexy Black Adam, but when he was in the bed before, he was covered in necrosis and terrible.
No, I'm saying, you look at his hair. The hair is the tell. The hair is the luscious hair. He has a Ram V looking hair at one point, and when you end up having the Dracula looking hair,
Dracula's.
Yeah, that's the Dracula's.
Okay,
so
I get you now.
At the end, he ends up going to stand up. He's got the Dracula's hair. And you're like, oh, shit, what happened? Because they were saying maybe one of the parts of him is alive, one of them's dead. It's kind of a deal, and let's see. how that plays off. But
The
it's just a weird book, and it's very hard to talk about with the idea of the Sumerian gods. That I wish that he ended up going and he had to face off against the gods that actually gave him his powers and had to kind of, tell them, hey, I used the powers good.
We
and
betrayed your nephew.
that's what I wanted. That's as easy as I wanted it. So then you could get people on board with actually knowing, okay, we'll get some of the things some of the time about what power.
Were you ever truly a champion?
Yeah, that's all I kind of needed in that. And I think it could have played out just the same, but seeing him kind of going and would have to go and confess his sins to the powers that ended up powering him up. And maybe you get a little play there, a little, fancy play of they weren't really necessarily wanted him to get it. You go back to that idea of him stealing it, but you never, we haven't even dealt with that again. So it's just him.
What's Hootie think about all this?
Yeah, and I want to know what Hootie thinks about it. He's probably good at a party. Sounds like a real crazy guy, right? But yeah, so with that...
Yeah, he's all about that wisdom and stuff. He don't go to parties.
I think that all that... But really, that's the one that we usually hear a lot of, is the Hootie. But you don't even hear that. And I think that that's a misplay because a lot of people don't know a lot about Black Adam. You don't have to come out. This doesn't have to be, a lesson through and through. But you could have played the thing of okay, I'm going to be writing this for a lot of people who don't know the character. Let's make it fancy, but let's actually tell them some things about him. And you don't really get that here. But Malik is pretty cool, like you said, when he figures out, and he's like, maybe it's the cup. That's kind of neat. And he ends up sharing the power as if he's doing the, clear, boom, but he uses the sham power. That's cool. And shares the deal. So we'll see how it goes. And when you end up at the end, I'm just hoping that the next issue that you get a hold of me because you review it and say, hey, this is a little more, clear cut. This is one where it was crazy because sometimes Christopher Priest will even do that. He'll make it so crazy, but then he'll give you that issue where okay, that makes sense now. I'm just worried we're never going to get there, but I don't know. What would you give this?
I ended up giving this because I like the art and I like the continuation of Blake here and not hating him, a 5.5 out of 10. But all the stuff with Black Adam and the afterward really threw me for a loop, and I never want to have to see that again.
And I don't know that we will. I mean, it looks like it was just there, and then we'll go. Well, hopefully.
And maybe it wasn't.
I'm a 5.
Fun of this issue. You don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I'm not an FU5. I'm a 5. It's one of those things we were talking about on the TGIF deal of that Dark Crisis Young Justice book. You start to get to a point when you're confused about a book and don't understand it. You keep waiting. You get to a point where you've had enough and you need answers or at least see a direction. I'm at that point. Next issue, when we usually give something 3 issues. I have no idea. If I had to really explain what this, I'd just be like, well, it looks like Black Adam thought he was fighting Darkseid. He got sick.
Oh, dude, I tell you, the thing is,
it'd be
so
so
my
hard.
Normal train of going to a comic book shop and what's on my pull list, this is getting dropped at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I hope next issue plays out. It's very telling. Only 4 reviews. Not many people are reviewing this, so it shows that not many. And
We're waiting for the movie.
I see the stats, Eric. Not many people are concerned with this book, which is a shame. You like Black Adam. I mean, we didn't really even point it out. You really like the Marvel family and Black Adam, so you were excited about having a Black Adam book. But there we go. We have this. So hopefully it'll get better. But we'll move on to the next book. And the next book is a book that me and you were enjoying a lot before it ended up deciding to have a Harley Quinn crossover, which was very odd. But we're back into Gotham, but for how long, Eric? At what cost? Catwoman number 46, written by Tini Howard, art by Sammy Basseri, Vicente Cifuentes, Jordi Belair, and Lucas Gueton. And we end up having Catwoman. She's there. They're going to play some of the underworld stuff, a little Black Mask. Just seems like a weird play.
The underworld stuff with the vampires and the werewolves?
Well, the underworld of the crime families. And I thought that there's still a weird play here. It doesn't feel as smart as what it started out as. It feels like some of these characters aren't written as well as how Tini Howard started out or run in my mind. And you are still dealing with Aiko and things like that, but it's more to get Selena out of Gotham,
and it's such a weird idea because
odd.
we're just getting back to the idea of where we started the series, and I feel like it has to be editorial telling her, you have to do Catwoman a different way because it keeps you getting interrupted with the idea of Black Mask and the rest of the crime families in Gotham, which has been really cool, the aspect of this book that we want to see more of. But even when we had the last issue, okay, Black Mask, he's fucking pissed off at Catwoman. He's bringing in Amygdala, which I love the fact that we continued on. Even though I didn't like Tom King's Batman run, Amygdala got his hand cut off in that series, and he has his hand cut off here. I'm like, good, that's some continuity that I love to see. But he brought in Amygdala to be this big, heavy muscle to finally kill the cat. It doesn't work out, but for some reason, we are playing this aspect of the crime family so small in this. Like, there's some really powerful stuff with Aiko, which I think is really good. Even get Aiko back in the good graces of the rest of the crime family, so eventually she can say "fuck you" and take over. But we're just spending that. But when you spend so much of the book dealing with the background of Batman and Catwoman to the 90s, and like, even, I'm not just saying the 90s, but there's a great 90s Catwoman costume in this. But
yeah, you like
the
that
relationship of what Batman and Catwoman is, and then the relationship of what Beaumont and Catwoman is, where we are now. It feels like a lot of catch up, and then at the end say, "I got to get out of Gotham. I need a vacation." I'm like, no. We just got here because the whole idea was you getting out of Alleytown and doing Gotham proper once again. Why are you already saying, I gotta get out of here?
This book is all over the place. It's weird,
Can you figure out what you want to be? Because I'm just, at this point in time, we are leaving where it feels like the big part of this book. Eventually, I hope she can have a fun little jaunt of stealing jewels in Europe with Valmont and come back and finish the story, because it feels like we're leaving this wide open.
Yeah, it's weird. And the problem is with me and Teenie Howard, I've read a bunch of her books at Marvel. And even say the stuff that she did, the X-Men books and things, she was the reason I stopped doing an X-Men podcast. And it wasn't because her issues were horrible. It's because they were boring. It was because she ended up, again, like not seeming to know what she wanted to do. Things meandered about. That's what it seems here. And the weird play is who got to her with those first 3 issues. Those should have been almost written before that first one kind of came out. You'd have, a couple. Those were really good. And then it seems like they sold as well. But somebody, like you said, it seemed like they got to her and said, no, you have to do this. Get Harley Quinn in. That really took a turn and really felt like a completely different book. Didn't even feel like the Selena that we had set up and the smart play and this, crime boss stuff. So then you get back to it. Like we said, and we're like, thank God, that stupid Harley stuff, it's gone. Let's get back to it. And when it gets back, yeah, like you said, the Aiko stuff I still think it's a little bit overdone. I think there's too many pages of them just sitting there talking. It's okay. We like Aiko. She's going to go.
It really plays on what we dealt with before with the Valentine run, with who Aiko is, her background, and the relationship between them, because it almost feels like a love connection as well that they're like putting on hold because of their professional careers as, Catwoman and like mob boss Aiko as she is. But like it felt very personal, and felt like it was written very well for what they did. Even the idea of like, at some point, I need you to make sure that you, in front of everybody else, betray me as Catwoman to make them know that you are not my ally at all, and we have to get to that point. And then we immediately rush to get that shit done. I'm like,
there's a weird play by the end that I'll ask you about, but even then, you do, do some things that I do like you said, but I'm telling you, you didn't need, they're just sitting there eating shrimp for like 4 pages. And I thought, and the dialogue goes real heavy.
All it did was make me want to eat shrimp too.
I know, I was wanting it as well.
Where'd you get that shrimp?
I think that what happens with Teenie Howard extends these conversations. She does this a lot. And, this is probably one of the first things you read. And just, this is a common thing with her, where these conversations going, it's fine. It's not bad. But then you go back, and when you end up having this, and I'm actually interested in Valmont as well, almost like playing off her version of Ghostmaker, even the weird play. But even then, when you go back to Black Mask and the gangsters, that it seemed like Teenie Howard was setting up something pretty cool to make them a threat, make them this whole deal, and having the inner workings and things. And now they become pretty much, I waited for Cisco to walk in. It's like, hey, you having a He-Man and Woman Haters Club too? All right, let's go, boys. And I thought, boy, that's what you're getting down to? We're playing, I don't like the ladies. Let's do this because we hate the ladies. I'm like,
it almost became Wonder Woman at a certain point.
That's
with
what
Black
it was like,
Mask.
Wonder Woman. I waited for Cisco to show.
Exactly.
And just say,
and it really bothered me for the idea of the He-Man Woman Haters Club out of nowhere, just because it never felt like that. But now just because, Aiko's there, and it's just like, all right, this is what they're doing in Wonder Woman. We better have a stance over here about our bad guys hating women as well. And I'm like,
why?
Why would you do
You don't
that?
need that. You had set up a pretty smart going deal where you even had this idea where some of these crime families were not really down with Black Mask, but they were afraid of him because he's so crazy. And he was taking advantage of that, saying, I'm the only one who will do what you won't do. I'll kill the Catwoman. So then they were even going even more of, okay, we'll deal with him because he'll get rid of the Catwoman. Then we'll see what happens later, but we want to get rid of the Catwoman, so he'll do it. That kind of gets pushed aside. The idea of the mask, they even mention here, you've been crazy, but you don't really get that play anymore. Everything is dumbed down to we hate the things. We're going to call this the gentleman's club. We don't like the ladies. We hate the
We're
ladies.
all a better class of man. We back our threats with direct action, real violence, not the deception and shadow work of women and thieves.
And also, and it's a little thing that's been a little pet peeve of mine recently, but the idea that you're fighting amygdala, and I could even say to you that at points I'm looking at amygdala, I'm like, I think they might have drawn an arm at one point and then just took it off because it's so clean, right?
At one point when they're on the docks with Aiko, amygdala does have 2 hands. They screw that up. But when at the big fight, he has 1 hand, and I was happy about it.
When he yells, "I smell you, kitty," and he's like, "Rah!" It looks like maybe they took that hand out. Like it was like,
good.
Okay, we'll take that there. That's fine. But yeah, later it's off. But when they end up, she knocks him out. Valmont's like, okay, what do we do now? And then we have to have a panel. Well, he has mental problems, and he got hit before. It wasn't me. They did it. They took out his amygdala. I'm like, we don't need this. Just come on. It's amygdala. We get it. Like,
let him have it, just because how often does anybody see amygdala?
Well, that's fine. I'm saying that it's more of the idea of, well, he's not really a villain. We had this. Batman's hugging people. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's a villain. But yeah, well, he's kind of that. You don't need that. You don't need to throw that in after you see this guy running around trying to kill her. I mean,
we had
that's
amygdala in Arkham in one of the series we did. I forget which it is, but when he's just being lunch lady at Arkham, I'm like, that's what I don't need.
Yeah, yes, the hairnet and the stuff. Yeah, he had it on. Hair. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't need a hairnet. What are they doing? But yeah, with that, it's, it's complicated. He's there and we're getting this. I'm like, I don't think Valmont's listening to a word you're saying. Valmont will kill him. And when you might turn around now and kill him.
What we're doing with Valmont is just a tool at this point to give column A to column B because, hey, Valmont, you're a guy who gets things done. I might want to go some places and, you could be the guy. And then even the idea, like, should I put it under a fake name or Selena? I'm like, everybody knows that Selena Kyle is Catwoman at this point. Calm down with that. I don't even know why we're trying to play that out, but it seems weird because when we have Valmont doing this, we have to get this job done because Selena, and she needs to get out of town because Gotham just is not the right place for her right now, even though the whole idea was going back to Gotham proper. But we're doing this while they go and shop for Darius, Tommaso freaking son.
And I like seeing Darius, right? But we don't need 3 pages of shopping.
Darius is not leaving the apartment. He's busy taking care of the kitty cat, and that's how he pays his rent, by taking care of Selena's kitty cat, which he will continue to do when she's in Europe or wherever they end up going. But it's just Valmont and Selena in yoga pants going to shop for Darius and then talk about what they need to do. And it feels so weird. I'm like, why is this a part of our book? And the idea, like, don't you ever sleep?
This is the stuff I worry about Teeny Howard. She does this stuff.
Darius, he wants to go to Capullo's meat market, but he can't be seen there because his father loves Capullo's meat market, when later on we have to go to Capullo's Ristorante.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, everything's named Capullo's. Oh my goodness. And then even, here's the deal. There's even the play, and I don't know if I like it or not, but at least we know it's out and about. Darius, we know that his, lover, he's gay.
He's next in command.
His boyfriend's next in command, but you have to have that in the He-Man Women's Haters Clubs. We know that your son don't like the ladies. It's like,
my son
I don't have a son.
No, it's
I'm
my
like,
heir now.
All right, at least we have it out in the open, and we know that. But it just, everything seemed forced. Everything with the crime bosses, the men in it, all seem forced, all seem over the top. But then by the end,
Villains Incorporated over here.
Yeah, it is. It's just we hate the ladies.
Can you like Don be trusted? Look at Don Tommaso Federico. Your son Dario shames you still. We know he will not bet a woman, yet he sniffs around after the cat. I no longer recognize his son, Dragos. Snow of Godon is my heir now. Hooray, let's drink to that, to power, gentlemen.
Actually, you say that, it does feel like everybody's a robot. That's all of those guys. They're like, you type into the robot of mob boss talk. Hey, your son, he shames you. He won't bed the ladies. I'm like, really? Like, you're doing that?
But he sure sniffs around that cat, huh?
You end up having, Selena and I go, that is the better part. And that's the part that we like because it does go and talk about stuff from the Valentine Ryan. Even when Selena says, in a sly way, which I like, that kind of comes in at the end of, hey, you still got that cat suit that you wore? Pretty sexy. Yeah, I sure do. I have it. All right. Well, just keep that in mind because we might need it.
And I can't wait for that to come back one day when we have to have Selena finally come back to Gotham and deal with Black Mass stuff, because why are we taking vacations like in fucking Batman during the end of the Tom King Batman run when he goes on vacation with Selena, which ends up getting, Alfred killed during City of Bane? this is the big part where, like, we're making our push to take down the crime families in Gotham. We made Black Mask lose his goddamn mind, but now he's making another foothold in this territory, and now we're going to take a vacation. I'm like, no, this is not the time for that.
I'm telling you, by the end, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know the play, because Aiko sets up this deal, and I thought that the play was, oh my God, Aiko was double going and trying to say, hey, double deal. I was going to say double teaming. That didn't work out.
Double teamed.
But ends up saying, she's going to set up, and oh my God, she was actually setting up Selena, but Selena asked her, hey, we got to do something that makes it look like I'm dead so I can get the hell out of here. I'm going to go
I need you to come to my yachts by yourselves. This is not a trap, I swears.
And I like that Aiko ends up playing it right. I mean, Aiko is smart, and that's why we like her, where, Black Mask, hey, get her here. We can have some dinner here at the Capullos. And really, I'm going to call Selena and say, come to the mob, restaurant. And there's no way she's going to come.
Best hangout spot.
It's a cool play that they had already set up this knowing, because, again, it's showing you these guys in Black Mask are just idiots. So, hey, no, I'll tell you what we do. Here we go. Hey, baby, want to come on my yacht? We'll have a good time. All right, see you there. Yeah, and then ends up, hanging up. And then Selena even plays it out. Pretty good acting. Like, no, don't tell him anything. And then she hangs up on him like, okay.
Acting. There's still a lot of explosives on this yacht. So even the idea when Aiko tells him whether she knows it's a trap or not, she gets on that yacht. There's enough explosives that nobody can survive. I'm still wondering how she survived, because they do blow up the yacht and Selena just swims away.
It often seems like the play is, as long as you hit the water, nothing can hurt you.
Every action movie's taught us that.
And even then, it's like not even like this explosion sets her like flying off on a wave or anything. She's just swimming.
Calmly swims away.
And just holding her breath. I mean, there's a lot of shit that can go down wrong there. And you even have it that, Aiko's kind of looks like she is kind of waiting. She's stalling. Like, screw that. Give me that. Boom. Blows up the yacht. So then Selena comes out. She takes off her mask. She grabs her thing. Valmont and her get on the motorbike and they go off. Now, is the play... hey, I want all the crime bosses to think I'm dead so I can go off and do things.
Done. Yeah.
So why is Aiko dressed as Catwoman? That looks like she's going to go around as Catwoman now, because you have her up on that girder and you even have Selena go, ha, there's Aiko. She's in a Catwoman outfit. Why are you doing this? Why are you playing that?
The thing is, I wanted to have a thing when they eventually got back where everybody thinks that like Catwoman might be like the phantasm or just some kind of specter out of nowhere where she's in two places at once. I don't get it, boss.
I don't know what's going on when you set all this up to make it seem Catwoman's dead, and it looks like immediately Aiko's going to take her place. That's why Selena said earlier, do you still have the cat suit? That's
I have
why.
to assume, though, this is going to help Aiko in her way to take out the rest of the crime boss. She's the head of the table, at least. I don't know how we're going to do it yet,
It's a weird play. It's like, listen.
You spend your time with Aiko in Gotham, or do you do it with Selena wherever she's going with Valmont?
I don't know. And I just get the play of this whole thing. A yacht's blown up. Selena almost dies when it just looks like, hey, I want you to be Catwoman a while when I'm going to leave. You could have just done that, it looks like. Unless they are going to play of a phantasm sort of thing. But it looks like Aiko is going around as that's the only reason. Without her saying, hey, do you still have that Catwoman outfit that you had? It was pretty sexy. Do you still have it? Yeah, I still have it. Still fits. Good. That's part of the plan. That then was the setup of, okay, I'm going to leave. You're going to dress up as Catwoman. I'm like, why do you have to blow up shit then?
I don't even know why you have to do that, though, even with the idea of playing, because Aiko is a mob boss. She's got other shit to do.
That's what I'm saying. Why are you doing
Unless
that?
It is a plan to help her take over, but now she's just a one-woman wrecking crew where she has to play Aiko and Catwoman.
But then you have, and then you have Selena, who is leaving town. Doesn't seem like she has to. Seems like she just needs a break. But if this is so important, stay there and help Aiko as Catwoman and have her be the crime. I don't get it. We'll have to see.
Well, everybody thinks you're dead.
But when I'm sitting there thinking, everybody thinks Catwoman's dead, and immediately you have Aiko dressed as Catwoman up there, and like, there she is. She's ready. What? Why are you doing that?
Oh, hell, Catwoman.
Like, is this supposed to be like the craziest thing where they decided, well, what? But here's the other play. If this is so ridiculous. Everybody knows Selena's Catwoman. So is this to make it? And here's the thing. You said that. Is this a play to then eventually get it so that the crime bosses think that Aiko has been Catwoman all along, that takes Selena Kyle off of that and gets her identity back? But why?
They just saw her blow up while they're sitting next to Aiko.
But I don't get it. The idea of her dressed as, and looks like, I don't think she's just there to wave goodbye and say, look at me, I'm in the outfit. Look at me.
Nostalgia. Remember this as you drive away? This is for you, Catwomans. While the cat's away, Aiko will play.
At the end, she's fully dressed as Catwoman, ready to go be Catwoman. Why? You just set it up so you hoped everybody thought Catwoman was dead. I don't get it, Eric. I don't get it at all. It confuses me why you would do this. Set up this whole thing to get this extravagant idea of her being dead. And then you just, well, no, we wanted sleep. No, it just doesn't make any sense. But the idea, like you said, I like seeing Aiko. I thought the art was pretty good. The motorbike actually looks like Frankie's bike from the Batgirl.
Old Burnside Batgirl.
And it's going to start talking to him and shit like that. I love that motorcycle so much. I want back.
I have an Imaginext version of that motorcycle.
I love that motorcycle. It does look a lot like that too. I love when you have that windshield that really doesn't do much, but it's there anyway.
It shields the wind for your chest.
Yeah, your chest and maybe your hands.
Maybe it'll be your face.
Yeah, I don't know. Valmont's way over there, the double demon.
Yeah, but Valmont's this normal-sized man.
Yeah, I like Valmont, but I like him, but I don't. It's a weird play, but I don't mind him. They're going to go off, and
Catwoman's Ghostmaker.
Even then, like, you know my name? Yeah, we all do. But yeah, it like you said, he is that deal where he can get them anywhere they want. They could go and do whatever. So we'll see. And I just wonder, because this feels like it's now going to go like, hey, we had the Harley little deal. Now we're just going to have capers.
Well, that was the thing. We had the Harley deal. Now the idea is like, I need to go on a vacation. Like, I need you to tell me what the greatest heist is right now, because we're going to go and do it, because we need to get back to heist stuff, because I'm Catwoman. Like, don't interrupt your normally scheduled Catwoman programming to go do freaking weird jaunts on her. Tell the story that you were telling, because that's the best part of this book right now.
You end up where Selina's there, and she's trying to bring down crime families in Gotham, make things better, all that stuff. And then out of nowhere, she says, you know what? I got a bucket list here.
Because while I love the Batman, I also hated the Batman when he told me I couldn't steal shit. So let's go steal some shit.
Yeah, let's steal some shit, because he said I can't steal shit, but I can steal shit.
Boy, I love him. He means so much to me. Roller coaster ride of emotions.
This weird play where she's like, it's a test to see if she could trust Valmont a little more, but it doesn't really play out. It's such a, why is she doing this? It feels, I wish that there was more of an idea. Maybe she did, done messed up with Harley and everybody's, and I gotta get out of here till the heat goes down, but doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know. We wanted Aiko as Catwoman, but I don't know. This is a weird play. We'll have to see how they explain it, but right now it's okay. This wasn't a great return that I thought it was. When I saw that we were going to get back to some crime family stuff, I actually was a little more excited, thinking that it was going to be a little bit better and go back to where we thought that this book was pretty good, which was about the first 3.5 issues. We thought were really, really good. Since then, it kind of went weird. Well, I think that we were still going, and then all of a sudden, that 4th issue, I believe, is when they ended. All of a sudden, everything just ended, and we went off to Harley and stuff like that. But with all that, what would you give this?
I like the art in this a lot, and everything with Aiko and calling back to the Valentine run was great, and even the idea of Aiko becoming Catwoman again. Don't know how it's going to work, but I'm interested in that. I like that aspect of it. Give it a 6 out of 10. I just wish we didn't have the He-Man Woman Haters Club and the idea of, like, let's interrupt Catwoman once again to go do different stuff out of nowhere, because that feels really off.
And I'm a 6 as well, and I hope something comes out of this that's pretty good. We like Aiko, but it's weird, too, because you end up having pretty much the same exact mob bosses, the same exact people. There's, Finn, McGulligan, whatever, Mr. Hansy McGee, he's out of there. They say he's punch drunk, whatnot, but they end up, you have almost the same
He's scared
crew.
of the kitty cats.
Yeah, we have almost the same crew that we did at the beginning. So why all of a sudden are they changing so much into this He-Man Women Haters Club? Before, it was the idea that they begrudgingly let Aiko in. Aiko had that deal of, hey, I'm used to when I'm with these guys, they're like, gentlemen, let's start this. And she's like, yeah, I kind of get used to that. This is the boys club, and I'm kind of pushing the door and whatnot. And that felt more clever than then just going to this and getting to pretty much surface level. We hate the ladies.
We
hate the ladies. God. Oh, my God, the ladies. And it just lessens everything. So we'll end up seeing what will come about from that. I'm a little worried here, but maybe, and it's good that we like the beginning.
To resemble anything that Wonder Woman's currently doing.
Well, no, and it's a weird play, and it's kind of the thing that we're kind of not the Wonder Woman thing, but we're saying the same thing about the next book, which is Harley Quinn. Yeah, and the thing why? Because it started out good, and Harley did. You had some good moments in this. Kevin, we thought we'd hate, we love. You end up Solomon Grundy was this gem in this book with
He's
Harley.
even more of a monster now, Jim.
And we kept giving it the idea. Fear State derailed it. You had some tie-ins, but we're well past that. I can't say that that's the case anymore. Something is wrong here, and I think it's the writing. I think the writing is piss poor, and you end up having Harley that gets worse and worse to read. And I'm not just saying the book. I'm talking the character. She is nothing in her own book except an annoyance to everybody, including the reader. And I have had enough. Plus, then you get this crazy, wacky situation. Just because it's a Harley book, you can't end up getting other characters and make it wacky just because. Because this Harley seems to be fully tied in to the regular continuity, and you can't play that game. But it's Harley Quinn number 20, written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Jorge Duarte, Simone Bionfantino, Romulo Fajardo Jr., and World Design. And yeah, they're in space, right? You get that. And there's even some mentions here. There's even some mentions in this where you have, hey, haven't you watched that movie with the aliens? But it's never clever or funny.
It was aliens.
I wish that at one point, like Harley, they're like, yeah, I saw. And she's like, well, fill me in because I didn't. Or something where Harley keeps doing the wrong things that are kind of mimicking the movies and things. Or we saw at the beginning, she's watching all the aliens movies and they're like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm doing homework. This is what happens when shit goes. None of that. It's just thrown out there. It's just thrown out there.
Well, even when you have the idea that starts this whole thing off and actually, is like a precursor to our entire adventure after, metal happened, the Element X was on Earth. And if you knew the right place, like guy, you could get a little bit of it. Luke Fox went and did this. And it's such a weird idea because he has this Element X and he's like, that like, I thought I could control it, that maybe in time I could understand it, even use it for some greater purpose. When he has the Element X, it seems to be already a dark mass coming out of the box that I guess he Amazoned it in. But I don't understand because it shows him a future where everybody's dead and there's a gigantic monster. So he's going to go and send it to space to make sure to the JLA watchtower on the moon because there's better defenses there, even though we haven't seen a single defense since we actually started going there with our task force.
We haven't seen any of those defenses that they said.
It's a weird thing where he saw this future and he's trying to prevent it, but he ultimately the catalyst, because it's what he saw in the future where everybody's dead, is what is coming back to Earth now at the end of this issue. But I don't know why any of this is happening. Like the idea of like it's already been mutated by this dark multiverse, which they don't talk about here. You just see a black mask and you assume that goes with it. I don't know why that's the case or how he got it into a box and then how he did any of this stuff to begin with, if he already unleashed and stuff like that. But when you have our team where we have the Element X that's been mutated by the dark multiverse on the moon, it takes over Lashida, it sucks her in, but we have our team freaking out. But then you have Lashida. Hey guys, why are you all upset about things? What's going on? I'm just Lashida like always. And then everybody wants to kill her because obviously she's a space zombie, but nobody wants to just like ask her questions and stuff like that. And then it consumes Solomon Grundy. And then you have a Lashina Grundy spacesuit mixture monster thing that looks more like John Carpenter's freaking The Thing than anything from Aliens. But now it's a self-sentient kind of thing that's not just Lashida asking questions, hey, what's going on, guys? Why are you afraid of me? Now it seems to be its own thing and says, I just want to know what I am. But that seems to be a ruse as well, just to get close to people. So I don't know what this thing is.
I know.
Or how
I don't
any
either.
of this is going to work. But on top of that, you have freaking Sarah Payne, who was previously Verdict in this Harley series. The girlfriend of Kevin who wanted Harley dead, who for some reason is on this team that doesn't make any sense. But now, since she was just a GCPD officer, but somehow she knows everything that Bronze Tiger did in the Suicide Squad from 1987 to 1989 for when Amanda Waller's niece got killed. I'm like, who the fuck are you? How do you have these Black Ops files?
She says she's I read the files about you. What? You gonna get us killed like Florence did? And you're like, what the hell would she know
Florence
this? And why would this
Crawley.
be in the files? Even with that, these are top secret Suicide Squad files. You call it the Suicide. It's not the Suicide Squad. This is Luke Fox, who in his fucking backyard made a spaceship and lifted it off. Now all of a sudden they're playing it out like it's this full out Suicide Squad government ops deal, which it isn't. She says, though, that she read these, makes no sense. And it felt like this was like out of the blue. Like we saw Harley. Hey, you want to go to the moon? Sure. Okay. Lift off. Like, where is she doing all this reading?
I know that the Bronze Tiger don't kill no more. Like, okay, it took that to you.
Really? Oh, you know this, do you? And
that's why the Bronze. Where did he bring that samurai sword from?
Yeah, I don't know. He hid it, Eric, in his prison wallet.
Gross.
You end up all of that is, seriously, if we want to get back to what we said we don't need, that reminds me so much of what they do in the Wonder Woman book, where they just throw a character out there, willy-nilly, throw something out. The idea that Verdict knows this stuff about Bronze Tiger makes no sense in any of this book or how it was set up. Also, as you said, where are the defenses?
I was really hoping it was Killer Frost because she spent some time in the Suicide Squad
she would
and maybe
know.
word got around, but for some reason, like, I was hoping that,
Even
like,
she wouldn't know, right?
No, I know exactly, but I could try to at least make that work in my mind. But it's Sarah Payne. She should know none of this.
Yeah, Sarah Payne, who then, like I said, Stephanie Phillips just looks up and says, okay, what could I tie in with Bronze Tiger? Oh, he got mad the one time he was with Lashina on the team. I'll go with that. Seemingly why she picked them in there. And it's just
why
nonsense.
do you revert everything back to what Bronze Tiger went through almost like more than 30 years ago for the thing that you want to tie into? He's done other things since.
To the first and last appearance of a character that they ended up having in the Suicide Squad movie.
Suicide Squad.
But,
it's the first run of Suicide Squad books.
Yeah, and she was in there the one time and ended up dying. They ended up changing her around a bit, but was in the movie. But even then...
Oh, was she in the movie? I don't remember that.
Yeah, she was actually one of the girls there that they say that knocked out Amanda Waller at the end, actually, is that character in a weird way.
Oh, okay.
I ended up like, and I think maybe that was the clay, like, oh, she's also here. But it's just, it doesn't make sense. This is the idea of making something happen in the book to prove that you're smart or know it, but not doing it smart. You end up having a character Verdict that should know nothing of this. She was in the... But
disgruntled GCPD officer who started taking out eyeballs.
A GCPD officer that ended up getting upset was actually on like the disability, you're at the desk deal, but now suddenly knows secret files as if they're playing this is a legit Suicide Squad with Amanda Waller at the head, and she ended up walking in and going. This is Luke Fox putting together a willy-nilly team to go and cover up
and
his
she
big
doesn't make sense
up.
to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, none at all. But it ends up, you see here where you start to see these like strings connecting the deal. Okay, yeah, Bronze Tiger. That's the only reason we have Lashina and Bronze Tiger, because of this moment. Yeah. Like, really? Like, that's the tie-in? And then you have to have somebody know this, where maybe it could have been Harley. Hey, didn't you have problems with her before? Like, Harley's been on the Suicide Squad, not that one, but still, like you said, Killer Frost, whatever. But you have Verdict doing nothing but
I'm waiting
that.
for the next big turn about who this could be, because while we have all this going on, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense while we just have Lashina, Solomon Grundy, Element X monster coming for our team while they're bickering about each other. Luke Fox loses, the control of the situation, loses communications with his team, and he says to himself, fuck, I said I wouldn't call John. I can't call John. I'm like, who the hell is John? What are you going to play with? Which John are you calling? Are you talking about, John Kent Superman? Because this is asking at the moon, you talk about John Henry Irons, a Steel. Who are you talking about?
I thought it was Steel, but I don't know, and I'm with you.
I don't know anybody named John off the top of my head who's associated with Luke Fox.
Yeah, so we'll have to see now if you said I don't want to call Jace, but even that, they're on the moon. I mean, seriously. And when you go, one of the things you said that I want to repeat again, the idea of where are these defenses? Now you're saying, oh, the power's
Solomon
down.
Grundy punched the door open, the end.
And that's the funny deal where they try to play it off. Oh, the power's down. What? They don't have a generator? Well, you're starting to get silly to try to make your story work because you really played off the idea. Luke Fox is not a dummy. He ended up putting this, symbiote deal of Element X on the moon, which is also weird for him. Almost like it feels like, yeah, I'm going to push it over there. Let somebody else deal with it. And now realizes, oh, crap, I have to go do this. But the defenses aren't there. You never see any of that. You end up going, and there's no, you're playing the idea of the jokey Harley, but there's no real jokes. There's nothing really that funny going on. So it is a shame. Until then, Harley has to be, oh, I'm going to play the juxtaposition now that she knows everything. That's kind of boring. It just ends up where nothing is good here. It feels like a story that wasn't very well thought of or thought out before, and you just throw people into situations and try to get, it almost feels like it's an escape room as writing. They're thrown here, and Stephanie Phillips is trying desperately to try to make it make sense and get them the fuck out, but it's not working. It's not working, even to the point where you have Solomon Grundy and Lashina, where you saw Lashina, hey guys, what's up? What, I got something on my face? Oh my, you're a symbiote. And then when they get Solomon Grundy, it morphs together.
Guys, what is life? What is love?
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No more.
They're going full out trying to kill Solomon Grundy and Lashina. as this deal. They're not even saying anything like, hey, wait a minute, those are our friends, or those are they're just going and trying to take it down, but can't. And then at the end, you just have Luke Fox. Now he's getting in trouble with the government, and they're like, oh, you're in big trouble. And then you end up having symbiote goo go because it went to the teleporter. Oh, no, it's at the teleporter. It's going to go to Earth.
Slideways.
This is such a surface level bunch of bullshit storytelling. And I don't even want to say storytelling because it's just a hodgepodge of characters just thrown together and just, hey, we'll have them do this, this, this. Oh, at the end,
I need
not
to
even
figure
caring.
out how this works, though, because you have the monster come down, take out the military that wants to take out Luke Fox for sitting out a freaking space, a spaceship out of freaking, America's orbit. So they're obviously want to talk to Luke Fox to take him down for what he's doing right now and also attacking the moon.
His daddy's going to be in, and he's going to be very
the thing
angry.
Lucius knew this shit was coming. I was like, if I knew it was you, then everybody else is going to know it's you too. So, but the monster comes down here, kills all of these, military officials, and this is, hello, father. So I really need to know what's going on with this, because even when Luke at the beginning of this is talking about how things transpired, and the idea, like, this thing put a vision in my head, but it was like, Element X, the 10th metal, a metal so pure it's said to be made up of pure possibility. And then you see it spread out of the container that he bought it in. Like, get out of my head! Like, the idea is like, once the dark multiverse was discovered, this metal came to our Earth. Most, of course, taken by the Just League. Some available to the right price, the right buyer. I thought I could control it, like I said before, but
what the fuck was he doing?
This element, and the thing is, I got the impression previously that the dark multiverse had mutated on the moon while it was kept there. It seems like it was already mutated when he bought it, and I don't understand why, because it comes out like it is a Venom symbiote, and it gives him freaking visions of the future. He's like, are these real, or is it something they implanted in my head? So almost like the idea in the Black Adam book, like, you're telling me a lot of stuff, but you said it could be this or it could be that.
It could be that, or it might be that.
Anything,
but we don't know what it
issue.
is. Yeah, you don't get anything.
But what I get is a Lashina freaking, Solomon Grundy monster that calls Luke Fox daddy.
And even at the one point, you end up where you have Killer Frost. And again, Stephanie Phillips seems to be getting, like, she has these little bullet points. Okay, I'm going to have it so that I tie in Lashina and Bronze Tiger. Well, we'll get that. I'll figure that. I'll force that
Suicide
in. And then
Squad
you have
stuff.
to do the same thing with Killer Frost. Oh my God, this power that I got, that I sucked the life out of things.
Right.
But it never really does anything.
The thing is, I remember that part from Justice League versus Suicide Squad.
That's what it was, Justice League versus Suicide Squad.
And I had a problem with that because all you're doing now, because I like Killer Frost, she absorbs heat because she's always generating cold. She wants to be warm, but like the more heat, that's why she's a Firestorm villain.
That's why it's Firestorm.
But when you say the idea where she gets superpowers because she sucked on the life force of man, all you're doing is making her parasite. Stop making her parasite.
That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. And it doesn't do anything for the story.
Well, that's the thing is, Killer Frost is just going to be the linchpin to our whole situation. Is the Element X tried to suck on Killer Frost, but it turns out she sucked on it a little hard, sucked out its life force to the point where it's sideways out of here. Everybody's getting sucked on here.
Yeah, I think that you're going to have that play, but also the idea that it's already so forced. What am I? Well,
just don't
really,
make Killer Frost parasite.
And then the hello, father. It's going to be like, you're my creator, but didn't you want me? Oh my God! And then she's going to try to make it parallel Lucius and Luke, and it's going to be so bad. It's going to be so over the top bad with this idea that I think it's going to be people shedding a tear when the symbiote ends up being destroyed.
I will tell you this,
it just wanted to live.
The issue is when Luke Fox is all pissed off, doesn't want to have to talk to John, whoever John is, but apparently whoever John is, he's outside because Luke's just walking outside. But when he walks past the Batwing costume, like, there's still a chance that Luke could get inside that Batwing costume, and that's all I want.
I mean, even we said it last issue, the idea of like, he's a smart guy and he ends up doing this. He should have been able to do it remotely. So right there sets it off. And even in this, where we had that really hokey deal, well, they didn't have they didn't have generators to back up if the electricity went out. And I'm like, really? Like, you're playing that? Like,
I'm trying to remember if they ever rebuilt it after Manga destroyed it.
I know. She ends up having to explain it, and then it's like, well, guns can't fire without oxygen. Yes, they can. No, they can't. Yes, they can. But also, we have some trees here. That's a smart way to have oxygen. Almost
sure
that she thinks people are going to say, well, if the electricity's down, how do they have the oxygen in there? Well, it's the trees. Like, every bit of this is her trying to cover up the mistake she just did 2 pages ago, and you don't get a story. You don't get a story out of it. I don't have any idea what this Element X, we never saw anything of it like this from it before, and it just ends up being a parasitic
It's a pure possibility. It's just the possibility's bad this time.
But it doesn't understand why it's alive and what's the meaning of life. Can you tell me that, Luke Fox?
Is this going to be a
Daddy?
Dark Crisis tie-in where it's actually the Dark Crisis and the Great Darkness and the Almanacs?
I told you this could easily tie in with, as much as that Young Justice does tie into the Dark Crisis. There is no way DC's letting this shit get any sort of tie-in with that. They already have some
What are
problems
you
over
talking
there.
about, Jim?
This
Next week we have the Legion of
nonsense.
Superheroes versus, the Justice League, where the Great Darkness is
That
battling
also
them.
doesn't have it there. I don't know. But yeah, at the end of this, it's like, really? And when you get it weekly, very weekly, you realize, boy, this sucks. Like, this is nothing. So the art's okay, though. The
Yeah, I
art's
enjoy the
okay
art.
through that. But yeah, I mean, Harley doesn't really do much either. She just yells stuff and annoys people. At one point, each issue, somebody has said to Harley, will you just shut the hell up? You're annoying
Usually
and
it's
you're
you.
distracting. Well, Bronze Tiger did this time. Last time it was Verdict. So you end up
I don't
having
care
it
what
each
Verdict has to
issue
say.
here. Yeah, well, there she is. She's going to be the
The verdict's
linchpin
in.
as
She's
well.
irrelevant.
Yeah, it's just odd. Just odd. A character that was just introduced, and now all of a sudden she's on
A
this
murderer.
team. That makes no sense. So with that, what would you give it?
I like the art, but not much else besides little moments here and there, but I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 3 out of 10. It's just a nothing story, and we're getting it too much. It's nothing but too much. But with all of that, yeah, that was a bummer. But we go off now to the book of the week. What is your book of the week here?
Nightwing is my book of the week. I can't remember which issue it is, but it's Nightwing.
It is 95. Nightwing 95. That is mine as well. And I want to now check the right on the money, too. We have to go check the poll on the Patreon to see what the Get Fresh crew, who they picked for it and what they picked for the book of the week was Batman Superman World's Finest. Number 6. They picked that. Nightwing only got 1 vote, Eric.
It wasn't even me.
It was me. 1 vote. I don't get it, but that's what they picked. And close up in second was Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler, number 1. That's a shocker, but
It's a divisive book. A lot of people like it. A lot of people don't.
nah, I don't know. Book of the week, though, that's tough. But yeah, some people did like it. The reviews, as it goes on, and this does happen with books like this, like every day another review pops and the review score's going down
That's
for
because they're
that.
scared. They got to come in late to hide their
That
shame.
might be. Well, they're like, hey, is anybody else going to say it's bad? All right, now I could go in. That's what we used to think. I still might. But next week, Eric, what do you think we have? Well, what are the possibilities?
Action Comics.
Is it like that crazy Element X
Deathstroke
that it's
Inc.?
just made of possibilities? What we have is Action Comics number 1046. We're going to end up having the War World saga coming to an end, though we will end up having an annual as well to get then Cal to go back to Earth. That seems to be the big thing that
It's a
they're
really
pushing
cool cover
for.
of Steel, but it's a really kind of a portrait look on the cover. But I think it's cool because it's Steel without his mask on, but still in the Steel costume. Doesn't much look like Steel to me.
Okay, well, there you go. But yeah, we end up where
I don't know.
the
His
big
head's too
push now.
thin.
It's weird, too, because the big push now with the Action Comics is to get to 1050. That is the one that they keep pushing. I keep getting things about it, and they're doing interviews and stuff. So even the solicits for these issues we're getting now just keep going. With the 1050 coming up, I'm like, come on now, we're going back to Earth. Cal's going to get there eventually. Plus this War World, it's a
Superman's
big
gonna tell
thing.
everybody that he was joking about being Clark Kent. 1050.
That's right. Hey, everybody, I was joking.
JK.
We'll see. I just think it's going to be like 2 pages. He comes in and is like, yeah, by the way, the Justice League just called me. They need me to go do something with them. I'll be right back. And then he goes and dies. But we'll see. We'll see what that is. But I'm still liking the War World deal. It's going on a bit too long. You need to get it over with, and hopefully it'll be over with a bang, not a thud. But we
Hey, look,
also
the War World stuff is fine. It's just everything else with the Thanagarian warships and the Genesis arc and what that means with, Light Ray becoming resurrected through ancient Mongolian, I say Mongolian, Mongol technology.
Yeah, Mongol.
But the idea of her coming back as the Black Razor when she's from a tangent universe, we have not dealt with any of these character traits. I'm like,
We'll see.
There's so much going on in this that I'm like, the War World stuff would be great right now if we just got that.
Yeah, that would be cool. But he got really big on the fables and the intricacies of the Warzoons.
And if you have the Genesis piece here from the bowels of War World, then it becomes you get the power of this ancient god that nobody wants. And if a good person gets it, the universe can be saved. But if a bad person gets it, guess what happens? Bad stuff.
So if I got a bad stuff there, you have Deathstroke
I'll
Inc.
put it on
number
the top
12.
shelf.
Deathstroke Inc. number 12. I'd levitate that shit down. That's what you do with it. Deathstroke Inc. number 12. That you were more into the Deathstroke Year 1 story than I was last issue. I hope to get on board with you.
Where it's Green Arrow versus Slade Wilson.
Yeah, and we said at the end that's kind of cool. We'll see how it goes. We have Detective Comics number 1063. That's Ram V. And we were a little confused about it at the beginning of last issue, the first part of it, and we wanted a little more focus. It seemed a little scattered. We'll see how that is. And even
I don't even remember what happened.
Remember me and you were like, we were looking at the deed and the mayoral deal, and we were wondering what was going on.
Eastern European Arkhams, right?
Yeah.
Coming in with a bunch of other stuff?
Yeah, that and a bunch of other stuff. We have Harley Quinn number 21 continuing this nonsense. Hopefully it picks up. I mean, it only takes one issue to elevate something, and we hope we get it.
Their covers look cool.
Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes, number 5.
Oh, the penultimate, Jim. The origin of the Gold Lantern.
That last issue, number 4, actually sold well. So it actually, better than it had been. So that shocked me. But we have that. Then we have a big one. The Clune Rads, and I believe Stephanie Williams are both doing this together. The Olympus Rebirth, number 1. I think that's what I saw. Or it might just be the Clune Rads. But you end up having the idea of Hippolyta ascending, so we'll see how that is. What are you talking about?
On the cover of that, it says, "Your gods have returned." I'm like, they've been back.
I know.
They were gone for like a hot minute.
Eric, everything's messed up in those Wonder Woman books. We'll see what's happening. Dead Man's probably going to ascend. I don't know. Robin number 17. There you go. You have the Robin deal. I believe that's the finale, and that should lead us right into the Batman versus a Robin deal. So we'll see how that goes. We also have Task Force Z, number 11, a book that seems to get lost in the shuffle a bit in my mind, but we like it enough. I hope that it ends well. I want that to end like, okay, that was worth it. It kind of got really...
Jim, we ended the last issue with Bane actually being a resurrected version of Gotham with a bunch of venom inside of him. How could it possibly end well at this point in time?
I don't know. Maybe they'll explain it, Eric. But then we have the finale of Swamp Thing, number 16. Will we find out more about Levi? Or will it be all about Trinity? What do you think, Eric? What do you think it's going to be about? Because I hope.
Well, if you remember the last issue, like the finale of the last issue, it's weird to say the cliffhanger, not finale, but when you had the idea of a Swamp Thing with his powers back, and he's taking on Mr. Pilgrim and the Avatar of Gears, and he's like, "You'll all shut up because this woman Trinity has something to say." The Avatar of Radiation.
Do you have something to say?
I think I do.
I certainly do. That's why I'm afraid. But we'll
Trinity,
see.
An avatar that who's an idea of atomic energy that just came to life, been alive for like a week, decided to choose sides with Swamp Thing for no real reason except for the thrill of just choosing sides, is now going to talk to the Avatar of Gears, a parliament that was just created a week ago, as far as I'm concerned.
In the meat factory in Detroit.
Where's Jack Hawksmore?
You end up, really. A lot of people keep telling me that The Swamp Thing is the best book they've read in 20 years.
I want it to be the best book. It has some ideas, some concept, because that's all it is. It's playing on the ideas of ideas and concepts, but it is a bunch of ideas and concepts with not figuring out what those are ultimately.
Yep, and like you said, Jack Hawksmore, he throws things in.
There was no reason
and then
for
never
Jack
gets
Hawksmore.
back to him. And I'm thinking that if we get to an ending and I'm like, that wasn't much of an ending. I'm like, he is really got a plan that he keeps getting them, to give him more. But seriously, I need to know what's going on with the Swamp Thing and the Green at least a little bit as we go out of here. Hopefully we will get that. And it's a funny thing because usually what you'll get is if there is a continuation of things like this, if there is a war for the Green, that probably would have been in the November solicits, and you would have played that idea of waiting this long.
Jim, that's obviously a spring book.
So maybe in the spring, yeah. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm telling you, season 3. This time we're going to I don't know what we would talk about then. We're going to be out in outer space, and we're going to be in hell, and we're going to do this because
Tell me more.
Why did you even have how Jordan showed up? Everybody was so fired up. I'm like,
dude, that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool, but what did it do? That's his deal. It was a concept.
It powered up Levi when he didn't have a connection to the Green anymore.
But it didn't. It just was a concept in my mind. It was just something that seemed cool. So let's throw it in, but never really was explained or really spelled out very well. But with all of that, and the attack of the Green from space. But we end up, we'll see how that
Space Force?
The Space Force. They look like giant, jellyfish.
But we need them to be called down because Guy is in trouble, Jim. Hedera's taking on the Parliament of the Gears. We need backup.
Yeah, I don't know what's
Space Force.
Now. And then Trinity. Everything just ends up with Trinity. Like, I got something to say.
I'm just looking for Levi to do something.
I certainly do. I want to see what happened to, was it Jen, his girlfriend?
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck happened to her? I think she might be dead. She
My
might be
girlfriend
a pack of
Jen
smoke.
and me, we're going to go on a date when I get done being Swamp Thing.
I don't know what she's doing. Now, with all that, 2 of those books will be picked by the Badasses to be on the Badass Spotlight show. What is that? The Patreon only Spotlight? It's the Spotlight show. Only on the Patreon. 2 books picked by them. Me and you talk about them. It's usually Thursday night. Actually, it's always Thursday night. And just as a little bit of another incentive for the Patreon, patreon.com/weirdscience. This show next week, we're having a show, then the week after is Patreon only because it is an annuals week. So to listen to our Spotlight episodes, and they're sitting there. I mean, all the times that we say it, they're still there. A lot of shows. You can end up listening to all the things that you want. Just join up, patreon.com/weirdscience. And then, again, the big thing is the annuals week. You'll get to hear the whole show where there are no limitations, I hear. And, Eric doesn't wear pants during it. It's pretty crazy. But with all of that, that's it. That is it, everyone. Thanks, everyone. Check the show notes for all of our links to everything Weird Science, including even our Marvel stuff and our manga stuff, indie stuff. We have all sorts of comic book things going on around here. But, Eric, what do we say at the end?
Everybody have a great week. Keep it weird. And we'll see you in 7.
See you in 7.
Go read comics.
You are all weirdos.
Weird Science
is the revolution.
Weird Science
is the revolution.
Weird Science
is the revolution.